Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. Happy Thankful Thursday to you all. We got a good show planned for you, so thank you so very much for stopping by. Thank you so much for tapping in, going ahead, hitting your like button, all that kind of hitting the like button, dropping your like number in the chat. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much. Who we already got up in the building? We already got Kelly up in here. Thank you so much, Phantom. I'm sorry, Honey Bunny is in the building. Good to see you. Chrissy's in the house. Thank you so very much for stopping by today. And she's number 3, by the way. She's letting you know, hey, I'm the 3rd one up in here, but not to be followed by the red fine queen. I like it. Redefined queen. I got you. I see what you did there. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you. What's Kelly saying? She says, look, Carrie said, look, I'm on the building. I got that green heart in here. I know the assignment. Winston said he's 6. Good to see you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you there. Thank you so much, everybody who tapped in, making themselves known in the building. Thank you so much. Now, I'm supposed to have a guest come through. I'm not 100% certain if he's going to fall through. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stall for a second. I'm going to stall for a second because I wanted him to respond with me over a specific Charlie Kirk interview. We're not going to do a whole lot of those because I do have some other friends of the channel we want to tap in on and see what they're up to. So what we'll do today to start, I do want to talk about, I don't fully understand. And I admit I've kind of let go of the whole Candace thing because I do think that she's toxic and, catch me outside. I think there's an evil woman. I don't know another way to put it. I'm just going to do that. I know she's going to say I'm a shill. I'm being paid 7,000, whatever. That's an evil chick, man. That's just an evil chick. So anyway, she's now set her sights on Nick Shirley. Y'all gonna have to give me the lore on this one. What did Nick Shirley do to her? Now I know he done messed up the whole Somalians game up there in Minnesota. He done messed up the hospice care game in California. But how in the world is he on her radar now? That doesn't make any sense at all, man. So anyway, I do want to kind of unpack that. So I did tap in with Tim Pool. He did a response to this. Again, I don't fully understand the lore of why she's mad at or why she's calling out Nick Shirley of all people. I'm just like, of all people, Nick Shirley? I have a theory, and I'm sure some people probably tapped in with it. Let me see real quick. She's gross. Good evening, Jason from Florence, Kentucky. Candace is evil. I mean, there's no other way around that. I mean, that's almost like a foregone. That's like saying that Thursday follows Wednesday, right? Candace is evil. Yeah, it's just wild. I'm like, what did Nick Shirley do? I truly did not get it. Oh, he had talent. Maybe he has talent. Yeah, she's saying some crazy stuff though, man. And also, we are going to look at Matt Walsh because I do understand most of us want Turning Point to defend themselves and want Erica Kirk to sue people into oblivion, which I do think she should, but maybe not just everybody. But we'll talk about it in a second as well. Maybe she's tied to the fraud game. I don't know. Was Nick Shirley into the US aid? I thought that was Doge. I could be wrong though. I don't know. Nick Shirley needs to get with Elon. They got they're pretty smart fellows right there. They're all in the Islamic circle. That's a good point too. Grace and peace to you, my friend. Thank you so much for following through. Thank you so much. Candace and Nick didn't really go to other countries and that with evil. Like Candace said, Nick didn't really go to other countries and meet with evil gang members. He did, and he's a missionary. The thing is, though, this is my thing. And if that's the case, thank you so much, Natalie. I really appreciate that. Why do people trust Candace to say that? Like, why do you trust Candace and say Nick Shirley's lying? Like, why do you not say, hey, Nick Shirley? I mean, he's been all over the place. You can't deny that. During the riots, he's been all over the place. So this is about, this is about on brand for him. So, okay, he went to, was it Colombia, Brazil? In the 48 hours, he was meeting with gang members. Okay. Why is that just the craziest thing ever? Why don't you prove that he didn't do it, Candace? How about that one? How about that? Like, instead of just saying you don't agree and then just running the dude's name in the mud because he's done some great work, why don't you just prove that he didn't? Or what does it matter? Like, did Nick Shirley do something with Charlie Kirk? Like, what does this got to do with anything? I don't get it. She thinks she thinks he's getting some of the attention, I guess. Well, sad thing is there's enough attention. Attention is not a finite commodity here on the YouTube streets. So by no means or measure is he taking only the attention from her. And let's just be honest. Are the people that follow Candace really following Nick Shirley, a 23-year-old Mormon? Are they really rocking with her? I don't think so. That's what I would think. I mean, but y'all let me know. I saw Mira's video. I think you said I saw it. I don't know why I didn't want to pull it up though. But maybe we'll look at it. Maybe we'll look at it because I don't think my guest is coming through. He hasn't texted me back saying he's coming or not. Now, this is something I do think Candace is jealous of, is people that are actually doing what she can't do. That's why I do believe that she has beef with Turning Point, is because they're doing what she can't do. I went and saw, I did see one of her prove me wrongs that she did about BLM. It was bad. It was not a good one at all. And it was very hard to watch. Maybe I should pull that one up. But it's just hard to watch because it's not when you see how Charlie Kirk was doing it, you can see how off-brand Candace is. And it was really gross. And so I can see that maybe she has a problem with that. And she has to be jealous of his success. Oh my. Yeah. I don't think there's any reason to believe otherwise, truth be told. He's been with Elon lately. Okay, shout out to, hey, I'm here for the Shirley Elon rap battle. I'm here for that. Let's keep this going. Let's see. He did get a hold of Candace. Who? Nick did? Yeah, right. Because he's doing real journalism. It's not the smear campaign. It's real journalism. I agree. That's a good point. Maybe she's just trying to bring down as many conservatives as possible. But Candace is a conservative, I was told. Let me pull this video up again. Because I watched it, I was like, oh, this is bad. Hold on one second. Bada boom, bada bing. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna have to find it while I'm talking. So I don't want to, because again, it really wasn't a good one at all. And it didn't, I don't think it made her look as good as she might want to come across. And we've seen that. We've seen her fumble before. So it's not really like the first time. I just don't think we were looking at it critically when she did. Ooh. Dog, where is it? Ah, here it is right here. Okay. It's called Change My Mind. And she was at Colorado State. And this is exactly why I don't think she'll do this. I believe this is why she can't do what Charlie, this is why I believe she's trying to tear down Turning Point. Turning Point has not done themselves any favors. But I don't think she can do what Charlie was doing before. I'm gonna pull this in. Let me pull this in after we do the Tim Pool. That way everybody can check it out just in case. So let me pull Tim Pool in. Shout out to Tim Pool. There we go, Mr. Pool. All right, y'all know how we do it. Green Arts in the chat when you can hear. Let's go.
There is perhaps no other person more effective right now than Nick Shirley, with on-the-ground reporting in Minnesota as well as California, exposing these fraud scandals. And he is just kicking things off. We have now seen CBS send reporters into these locations to try and uncover fraud. We have seen other reporters. We've seen Benny Johnson. Now, we've known about fraud in Minnesota for some time, but Nick Shirley hit the nail on the head with the hammer. He went in there, tracked down some of these locations. Leering Center is now a major meme, and he said, where are the kids? What's going on? What's
Yeah,
with
that's
these
good.
hospice offices, these medical offices with the lights turned off? No one's in there, but they're billing for nearly $1 million every year. What's going on? Well, sure enough, Nick Shirley has been given great access now to prominent individuals like Elon Musk because his work has been tremendous. And as I would say, my friends,
Put
great
Nick in the
work
chat.
is rewarded. Not always, but Nick Shirley has been doing great work. Now, the weirdest thing is happening. Of course, we saw recently that Gavin Newsom attacked Nick Shirley because he's investigating fraud in California. That we understand. What I can't quite figure out now is this. Candace Owens going to a near year-old video from Nick Shirley, claiming what he did is not possible and trying to discredit him. This is where things get very strange.
Oh, I didn't know it was a year old. I just saw it on X. I saw this post, right? Matter of fact, this post right here. I didn't know it was a year old. Oh, that's even worse. Yeah, that's low tier. That's giving you were told to attack him. Wow. Shout out for sure. Y'all put Nick in the chat. Nick Shirley killing it. He crushing it. Y'all, let's go.
My friends, as many of you know, I was the OG Vice News guy. When I went to Vice, they did not have a news division. And it took months of negotiating. And finally, they said, let's hire this guy. I said, here's what I want to do. Let's roll, baby. They launched news. And it was, I will give full credit to the statement to the former CEO, Shane Smith, who said, because of Tim Pool, we started Vice News. Indeed. I went to them and said, we should be doing on the ground reporting. This is what I want to do. Live streaming, posting social media. We nailed it. And Vice News at the time was the fastest growing news organization in history, gaining like 1 million subs in a month. It was wild. And you know, one of the things I did, why I bring this up? Because I went to the favelas in Brazil on more than one occasion to interview gang members to figure out what was going on. I was not the first from Vice, certainly was not the last. And others did certainly more dangerous reporting than I. I was on the ground at these riots, and I came back a year or two later. Ultimately, I went down there like 3 times. Candace Owens is attacking Nick Shirley, trying to discredit his current work, exposing fraud schemes, largely from Democrats, by bringing up a year-old video from him where he went to these favelas and interviewed gang members, and she says that's not possible, implying that Nick faked the whole thing, that he's lying in his coverage. Why? I'm going to say it again. I'm genuinely asking why Candace Owens is trying to discredit Nick Shirley. Okay, let me tell you something, guys.
Wait, before Tim gets too far afield, y'all go ahead and put Nick in the chat because Nick is crushing it. And you do have to ask that question. Why is she coming after Nick Shirley? I did not realize it was a year old. Now I'm really interested. So I might have to do a little digging and diving in this as well. So why is it that she's trying to drag Nick Shirley? Like, is he really her audience though? Is Nick Shirley's, this long docuseries type of guy, is that really Candace's audience though? Is that really the audience, the base audience, if you will? I don't think so. I don't understand why. Yeah, this is very interesting. Yeah, shout out for sure. Let's go. Let's keep it going.
We need now more than ever boots on the ground guys, not war. I'm talking about journalism. And Nick Shirley does he does that. That's what he is doing. Now, some have said, well, the fraud story that he uncovered in Minnesota, we already knew about that. Yeah, we did. We heard reports because people wrote down things because they heard things. They typed it up. And maybe people like me sat in a room and complained about it. But who actually said, I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to go down there and film all of this so people can see it? Nick Shirley did. Now, who's going to California doing the same thing? Now, with all due respect, Benny Johnson did as well, and Nick Shirley is doing the same thing. And again, shout out to Benny Johnson, who also does much of this kind of work as well. But Nick Shirley has really captured the moment. And he is, I think he was at the State of the Union. I'm not sure if he was there, but he is being heralded as this new and upcoming young journalist. He's a young man. What is he, 24? And I'm inspired. Listen, I'm 40. I just turned 40 2 weeks ago.
Shout out to 40.
I'm not about to go into these conflict zones anymore. I got a new kid, and I'm an aging man. I'm middle-aged, guys. There was a time when I was a young man, and I'll show you, where I was going down on the ground and doing a lot of these things. But at a certain point, you just can't do it anymore. For me, I got too many followers slowly over time. people started hunting me down because I was a spectacle at the event. And instead of being able to cover the story was becoming me getting attacked or harassed or my hat pulled off and things like that. And I said, okay, this is not conducive to actually covering the news anymore. So I want to wear a disguise or something, which I don't want to do. And as it goes, many people who were once on the ground reporters become recognizable and shift into more of the desk role. And so here I am. So what do we need? We got Nick Shirley, we got Cam Higbee, we got Nate Friedman. We got these young guys that are picking up that mantle and going on the ground and exposing corruption and shining a light on dark places. So here's the video from Candace Owens, which for the life of me, I cannot understand why she is now joining the likes of Gavin Newsom, the frontrunner for the Democrat primary in 2028, joining him and trying to discredit Nick Shirley of all people. I'm going to debunk Candace Owens. I mean, I can do it 1,000,001 times because boy, does she just lie to people. And I got to tell you, let me play the video for you and then I'll break more down for this. But this reeks to me like the script is given to her intentionally to sow discontent, discord, and distrust on Nick Shirley, who is just a young guy going and filming these things.
He's blown away by what Nick does. And Nick has definitely accomplished some amazing things as a 23-year-old. He also claims that within 48 hours, he managed, among many other accomplishments, he infiltrated Rio, Brazil's most dangerous gang. I'm not kidding. He did this in just 48 hours. I'll let you listen to Nick explain it. Take a listen.
Through the course of 2 days, I was able to get access to one of Rio's largest gangs, Comando Vermelho, and befriend a few of their soldiers who are so dangerous they cannot even leave the favela. Lots of strange things happened to find myself on top of Brazil's largest favela in a destroyed house, interviewing gang members of one of the largest gangs in Brazil.
Okay, I'm just going to say I don't believe that at all. I'm sorry. I just, it's so stupid. I'm not even going to tell you why I don't believe it. It's like, if you don't know that that's stupid, that he infiltrated the gang in 48 hours.
Infiltrated?
Right. That's exactly.
He met up with some gang member.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, where did he get the word infiltrated from? Y'all, this woman is sick. Like, what, for real?
Who agreed to let him film.
Like, it's just, that's so dumb. I'm so tired of dumb. That's not how that works, okay? You don't just...
It's entirely how it works. I've done it several times, and I'll explain in great detail, but I'll let her finish. Why is she attacking Nick Shirley? This makes no sense.
Go up to gangs on the street.
Yes, you do.
As a nice-looking white boy.
Yes, you do.
With the camera and say, hey, I just wanted to sort of like see what you're doing here. What's going on?
Literally, that's how it works. She is such an evil person.
Okay, just stop. That's stupid. Of course, that's dumb. I'm sorry, Nick. I know you're young. I hope, whoever is your contact that has you infiltrating Antifa and infiltrating El Salvador at the age of...
Now she adds Antifa as if to discredit him going on the ground in these leftist protests and exposing them as well.
23 years old. It just feels like Sean Penn young to me. Like, oh, Sean Penn's always there with the cartels, never gets hurt, always is a part of a movie. I don't like stupid. That did not happen. Okay? That did...
Wow.
This is, you know what, man? You guys know that I'm not a fan of Candace Owens, but I'm just going to say it. She's married to a British lord, and her lawyers work in a building with federal agents. It's a building with federal agent offices in it. And that's where her lawyers work by her own admission. And they said, well, it's a coincidence her lawyers rented an office to work alongside feds. Fine, whatever. Now you've got Nick Shirley, independent journalist, stumbles upon the biggest story of his career and continues the process. And I'm not saying it to be disrespectful. I'm saying he's a young man. You go out, you do the work. He's like, I'm going to go look into this fraud. We know this fraud story, right? He goes there, he films it, boom, becomes one of the biggest stories of the past decade. Finally, someone's exposing the corruption in our system and the degradation, the decay. He's doing the same thing in California now, and they are freaking out. Take a look at this from Fox News. Speaker warns SF leaders Nick Shirley's coming to town after blasting fentanyl crisis crime in public comment. Okay. Nick Shirley seems to be doing great work in exposing corruption. Why lie and claim he's not actually doing this? What's the implication? That's not how it works. You can't just go and cover these stories. This is nuts to me. This is absolutely, I see this. I don't get it. Candace Owens is trying to discredit Nick Shirley. And I tell you what's going to happen, because I've met people who follow this woman. They are going to be like, that Nick Shirley, man, something doesn't seem right. She's trying to make it seem like he's part of the machine, like he's got handlers who are connecting him. What's the implication? Again, you tell me, what's the implication when she says, that's not how it works. You can't do that. That's so dumb. That's stupid. Candace Owens launches surprising attack on citizen journalist Nick Shirley. I'm also just going to say this. I want to bash my face. That's not what citizen journalism is. And I don't know how many times it has to be said, but reporting is not citizen journalism. There's a reason. There is a phrase called citizen journalism. It is a reference to a woman walking down the street with her dog, and her dog is taking a dump, and she sees a car speeding down the street. So she pulls her phone out and films it, and it crashes into a pole, and then a bunch of clowns jump out and run away. Citizen journalism is when, in the normal course of a person's life, a citizen begins an act of journalism for which they do not return. Meaning, she films it, she uploads it, she goes home. It is journalism conducted by a citizen who otherwise is not a journalist. Nick Shirley is a journalist, not a citizen journalist. The word citizen journalist in this context has been used to discredit reporting from legitimate reporters like Nick Shirley. And I'm going to stress this. When I first got started in my career, they said Tim Pool's a citizen journalist. And they would do this to say he's accidentally doing this. He has no intention of doing it again, because that's what the phrase meant. Really? And then I would say, no, I am just a journalist. I am an independent reporter with an LLC running my own company, and I have friends and we coordinate and we do reporting. And sometimes I sell my reporting to networks. I've sold my reporting to Discovery on numerous occasions. And I think Net Geo actually covered the hurricane in New York as one example. I've had other outlets purchase my footage, and I used to sell and license footage. That's freelance journalism. But anyway, I digress. Here's a response. If you think a 23-year-old has all this access to fraud and gangs, then you're a retard who drank the Kool-Aid. This is the game. They are trying to discredit Nick Shirley. This video from Nick Shirley from almost a year ago, where he goes in the Brazilian favelas. He's got several videos. I think it's like 2 or 3, where he went down there and met with these gang members. Here's his channel. This video's got 64,000 views 7 months ago. Not even that big, to be completely honest.
But wait, Nick Shirley also went like to El Salvador and went to like their prison. Does she think that he didn't do that? Like, what? I don't get how y'all, Candace is vile, man. Keep this going.
Now you may be saying, how is it possible? How is it possible that a young man could go in there and talk to the most notorious gang members? That's a great question. That's a great question. I wonder how it is that a young, look at me.
Look at him.
Can I get it? I wonder how, I'm still wearing a beanie. How is it that a young man at the time, this is Vice News, what is I, 27? I was 27. I was a little bit older than Nick. A little bit older. A little bit thinner. Not that Nick, but thinner than I am now. Hey, here's me in my Vice documentary, Contra a Copa, the other side of Brazil's World Cup full length. Oh boy. Here's me talking to a Brazilian gang member in a favela. You see that strip behind us? This right here?
Yeah.
This is where, you see these PVC pipes? Human waste is being flung into it, just splats. And then they wait for the rain to come and wash it all away. It's pretty nasty. We're standing on a bridge. I was kind of worried it was going to fall over. This guy is a Brazilian gang member.
Wow.
He is covering up his face. He is explaining to us what was going on in the favelas with pacification. And, oh boy. How did we do it? But wait, there's more. I got another video for you. This is on my channel. This is on youtube.com/Timcast. How Rio's poorest are fighting police brutality. This is a group called the Papo Reto Collective. And once again, I return to the favelas of Brazil. How do you do it? How do you do it? Oh, it's so difficult. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. You can't. I'll tell you exactly what we did. You're going to love it. So I don't know. Look, maybe I don't look white. Maybe I can get away as being some kind of Brazilian because I've, with the Korean in there, sometimes people are like,
Tim, I'm just going to tell you, you look white.
Like, we don't know what Tim Pool is. So here's what we did.
I never thought about that.
I and my producer on different occasions, different producers, look at that. Vice News has 9 million subscribers. How sad that they really just burned it all down. But anyway, I digress. We went to the favelas. And we went to a restaurant, and we sat down and we asked someone, we have our camera equipment, and we said, we're American journalists, and we were hoping to get in touch with someone from one of the gangs so that we could get permission to be here and maybe they could talk to us about what's going on. We need to hear from them. We've got these stories about the police coming in and they're arresting people and there's been claims of brutality. And they were like, okay, let me make a phone call. That's what happened. Then we get told to meet up with this guy sometime around like 7 or 8 o'clock when it starts getting dark. And so I remember like it's a wild sight because the favelas are they're shanty towns, right? They're built up just in random spots. So the roads are kind of weird. And the funny thing is they have favela tours. That's right. Wealthy white people from the United States, they come down and they hire companies to drive them through the favelas. Like this is a normal thing. The gangs like it. They make money from it. So anyway, there's a guy sitting in like a plastic lawn chair up against a building and he's like smoking a cigarette or something. And we walk up and we've got a local with us. And he's like, hey, he starts speaking Portuguese. And the guy, he gives him a handshake. And then he's like, what's up? And then the Brazilian guy that we knew, he points and he's like basically saying, hey, these are my friends. They're journalists. They work for a company called Vice. And they're looking to talk to people in the gang. And the guy's like, okay. He's like, I don't want to do it, but we got a guy who will do it. And they connect us with the guy. And he says, meet us here tomorrow at this time. We'll get one of the members of the gang who wants to talk about this. And you'll be good. That was it. Literally took us 2 days. And then we showed up, walked in the back alley and said, we'll stand here and we'll film. And we interviewed him. For this story, this one was actually pretty wild because this is on my channel. You can watch it. I even say you can't film without permission from the gangs as I'm driving in this car. And this is, I think, 2 years later. This is December of 2015. So we went back in, called my contact in Brazil, and he says, you're good. And then it was amazing because when we went in this time, they were like, hide the camera equipment for now. We're going to go up to this house. And a gang member actually started walking past and like, stop, put the camera, because we got to ask permission first. We got cleared. They said, no, you're all good. I think this was a different favela. I mean, you can watch them both and figure out which one it is. This is the craziest thing to me. I'm going to say it again. And I ask you guys to comment because you tell me, why is Candace Owens trying to discredit Nick Shirley of all people?
In the chat, y'all let me know, why do you think he's an obscure comment? He's an obscure citizen journalist. That's hilarious. But let me know, why do you think she's doing this? Because it did seem really out of pocket, like just out of the blue. She was talking about one thing, she just out of the blue popped up talking about Nick Shirley. Well, let me know. Let me know why y'all think that is. Let's go.
Right? I'm gonna tell you this. Going into these favelas is not difficult. Maybe a little dangerous, but only a little. I always explain this because when I did this work for Vice, here's September of 2013. Live streaming the Black Bloc anarchists protest in Rio. That's right. We called them Black Bloc anarchists at the time. Since June, millions of activists have taken up the Brazilian streets, protesting rising bus fares. Man, I've been tear gassed in my day. But the craziest tear gas I ever got tear gassed with, not even Turkey, is Brazil. Like in the United States, they use this low-level CS smoke. And then in Turkey, it was pretty strong, but it was still CS smoke, a little higher grade, it felt like. And everyone's like, look, it's made in Pennsylvania. Brazil, wow. I took my sock off my foot and shoved it in my mouth to be able to breathe. And it was brutal. I was tear gassed in Ferguson, and it displaced the oxygen in my lungs because you inhaled too much gas, and I almost passed out. It was pretty wild story. Guys, here's what people ask me all the time about going to these dangerous places, right? I was in Ukraine during the start of the Euromaidan movement, and people are like, aren't you worried something's going to happen to you? Like, you were in Turkey during this protest. That's right. I went to Turkey, and there was this neighborhood. It was like the last anarchist neighborhood in Turkey, and they were throwing Molotovs at the police and stuff like that. And so I and the crew from Vice went. So here's the police downhill. Here's the protesters. We walked around to go in and try and talk to some of those rioters, I guess you'd call them. And they ran up to us screaming in Turkish with masks on. And they held an unlit Molotov cocktail to the side of my head, screaming at me. I just put my hands up and I was like, okay. I just kept calm, said barely times, okay, nodded, because I don't know what they're saying. The vice producer was like trying to speak English, and Frank's like, no, it's okay. We're friends. And I'm like, bro, they don't speak English. Okay. Now people say, aren't you scared? Is it dangerous? And I say, my friends, everywhere you go, people are people. What does that mean? 80% of the time, what they want is predictable.
Right.
If you're a journalist, most of the time, they're going to say, please tell people what I have to say. The world must hear this. Most people with a cause and a mission want to be heard. Now, as for the far left today in the United States, they don't. They want to shut it down. They don't want to be heard. And I don't find their views or causes to be legitimate. But for the most part, I will tell you this. You are not going to be killed or murdered by the average person around the world. Now, don't get me wrong. ISIS, yes, absolutely. I say average person. So when I go to Brazil and there's gang members, the worst case scenario is I go, hey, no. And then I go, I'm sorry, bro. And they'll say, and then they'll speak Portuguese or whatever. We have a translator with us. And they'll say something like, nah, you can't come in. They're not going to let you film. And they'll be like, okay, all good, man. We'll give him a fist bump. And then he'll just say, see you later. It's that simple. When we go in, they say, no, you're good. Because the gangs run the show. The gangs run the show. So take a look at this. Joe Rogan rips Gavin Newsom for mocking Nick Shirley over his billion-dollar fraud allegations. Gavin Newsom posted this image of, I don't know if they have a link to the tweet here. It was, they didn't link it. Gavin Newsom posted an image of Nick Shirley covered in cameras saying, where are your children? As if to imply he was trying to secretly film children. That's not what happened.
Oh, my God.
And the question is, why try and discredit the dude who's simply just filming fraud? Nick Shirley massively ratioed Gavin Newsom, and he's got tremendous support. I'm going to tell you what I think is happening. I'm entirely convinced Candace Owens is an op. I mean, I got to be honest.
No argument.
She comes from the right. Well, actually, to be honest, she came from the left.
Right. Say that part.
She was a leftist. She was red pill black, and she was doxing conservatives or whatever she was accused of doing. I don't know. And then has this awakening and becomes red pill black, right? Before this, I don't know, Candy something. She was a social autopsy, I think it was, doxing people on the right. So she comes from the liberals. She joins the right as red pill black, joins the Daily Wire and works with Turning Point USA. And I think Prager, she's a conservative now. And then, through that journey, now from the right, she is pointing people in a, let's just say, anti-populist, anti-Trump, anti-independent direction. She is telling everybody that Turning Point is bad. Turning Point is how Trump won, largely, not entirely, but largely. Mm-hmm. Turning Point rallies student groups, and she has done everything in her power to destroy Charlie's legacy. It's very strange. I said in November, this is demoralizing, and we will lose the midterms if she keeps this up. And Candace responded to me directly, we don't care about your midterms.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. If my goal was to make sure Democrats won the midterms, what would I do differently to Candace Owens? When Nick Shirley has been exposing fraud to the tunes of millions of people, exposing billions of dollars. Well, that's bad for Democrats in these jurisdictions because people don't like it. What would I do if my goal was to discredit? I'd say exactly this. You'd pull up a year-old video unrelated to politics that the average person can't understand because they've not been to the favelas, and then just say, I'm telling you that's not possible. And they're going to be like, huh, that is, yeah, I trust Nick Shirley's a liar. What? These responses are absolutely wild, to be honest. If you think a 23-year-old all of a sudden has access to fraud and gangs, you're a retard. Officer Lewis, I just lost so much respect for this woman. Let's see what else we got. I get her doubt. Where did he come from? Young investigative journalist, Charlie style, debunking fraud and saying live that he believes Tyler Robinson killed Charlie. Huh.
How's that coming?
She's actually correct in a way. No gang will let that kid next to them, especially with all these politicians and heads of the FBI and other intelligence agencies giving them shout-outs. To be honest, one day he showed up at the Roosevelt Hotel and interviewed a kid who said he's a gang member. I personally know the kid he interviewed. He wasn't a gang member. He was a kid with mental health issues. This just seems like it's like bot accounts. That's not true. Bro, we had 6'7" Kevin went to Chicago and interviewed gang members.
That's not hard, right?
I just said the other gangs will try and kill you, and they did try to kill him. Gangs want the coverage. She did not attack Nick Shirley. She simply wants to ask him a question. That's it. Interesting.
Yeah.
She's got access to foreign intelligence. Don't be surprised if they had dirt on him. Candace doesn't miss because she has an unfair advantage. MI6. She didn't say he was stupid. She said his claim that a 23-year-old was able to infiltrate favela gangs was stupid, dumb, and probably made up. So how did he do it? What's the implication? Never forget she's a lizard woman. Ocasio thinks Palestine is a country that's being occupied. Haha, I can't stop laughing. That's Candace Owens saying that. Amazingly, not a single elected Democrat is here to celebrate the historic event in Jerusalem. Here it is, everybody. The dumbest thing you'll ever hear all day. HD edition. Ocasio 18 is programmed to hate Israel and no idea why. Okay. This is, you get it. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, this reeks to me. Candace, her job is to destroy the populist right. And, you know, maybe she's a useful lady or whatever, and someone's writing the script for her, but can I just stress this? I think her account largely is, these are bot accounts. I think she does have a lot of followers. I think she has a lot of female followers. I think that's true. But I just think it's strange that YouTube props her up, promotes her to new users, despite breaking the rules incessantly
all the
on
time.
X. I think it's strange that she's married to a British lord and that her lawyers, by her own admission, work in a building with federal agents. Yeah. That was her own admission. I don't understand. You know what I think it is? If it is or not. In the Nigerian email scams, they will intentionally have grammatical errors. And then midwits go, these people are so dumb. I'm not going to fall for these spelling errors. The purpose of the grammatical errors, spelling errors, or otherwise in the Nigerian email scams is to weed out midwits and the intelligent who won't fall for it. They know that if they actually sent an email to someone who's moderately intelligent, a midwit doesn't mean stupid, it means you're slightly above intelligence, that they're going to get wise to it and say, I'm not giving you my money, and they're going to waste their time. They put grammatical errors in it so that really dumb people don't notice and then go, oh, wow. And if they're getting engagement from somebody who doesn't notice the errors, the likelihood of success is high. It's actually kind of smart. I wonder if that's the play with Candace Owens, right? The goal is to say,
wait, I'm gonna have to back that one up. I gotta back that one up. Okay, let's listen to that again. I'm gonna have to back. That was good.
It's strange that she's married to a British lord and that her lawyers, by her own admission, work in a building with federal agents. Yeah. That was her own admission. I don't understand. You know what I think it is? If it is or not. In the Nigerian email scams, they will intentionally have grammatical errors. And then midwits go, these people are so dumb. I'm not going to fall for these spelling errors.
Right.
The purpose of the grammatical errors, spelling errors, or otherwise in the Nigerian email scams is to weed out midwits and the intelligent who won't fall for it. They know that if they actually sent an email to someone who's moderately intelligent, a midwit doesn't mean stupid, it means you're slightly above intelligence, that they're going to get wise to it and say, I'm not giving you my money, and they're going to waste their time. They put grammatical errors in it so that really dumb people don't notice and then go, oh, wow. And if they're getting engagement from somebody who doesn't notice the errors, the likelihood of success is high. It's actually kind of smart. I wonder if that's the play with Candace Owens, right? The goal is to say debacle and kerflaffle and other weird words,
right,
so that midwits and the intelligent go, this is dumb. Who's going to fall for it? But stupid people will get dragged in and wrapped up in these conspiracies. And then you can push them in the direction of either abstaining from voting, just don't vote, or voting Democrat. That was, what show was that? Was that South Park or something, where the campaign was just don't vote? And they were going around telling people not to vote because they were like, hey, wait a minute. We can't convince them. I think it was South Park. We can't convince them to vote for our guy, but we can convince them not to vote. Indeed. Whatever, man. You know,
interesting.
I don't know what's going on. Look, dude, I'm just sitting in a room complaining on the internet. I don't work for anybody. You know, it is what it is. Smash the like button, share the show. You tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I am. We'll see you all in the next segment. Follow me on X and Instagram at TimCast. Thanks for hanging out.
Okay, you know what? Okay, I think Tim is on to something. And Ben brought it up because I've always thought that something just did not seem right about the mispronunciation of words. Pronunciation, right? I just did it. Pronunciation of words. What if all that's been a bit, as the kids like to say? What if it's all been a scam? just to see like, well, there's certain people who will fall for it and will rock with her, and maybe they are the great unwashed that follow her. But most people won't. They'll make fun of it. But the ones that will ignore it and engage with it, those are the ones that get swept up in the foolishness. What if that's true? I mean, it's not actually crazy. It's actually not crazy. Because I actually had another way. I was actually going to go in a different direction as it relates to what Candace does. Because I do believe after yesterday's video, looking at the clubs that her husband is a part of, I now truly believe that she's just projecting. And I'll explain why. But I think this is an interesting theory. I think this is a very interesting theory. Shout out to Tim Pool. I'll make sure you know what? Let me drop this link in the chat right now. And I'll try to make sure I drop it in the description when we get done. Shout out to Tim. That was insightful. I can get with that. I can rock with that for sure. Okay, yesterday, shout out to everybody who's jumped in. Thank you so much for making yourself known. Thank you for hitting the like button and hopping in. Yesterday, we watched a video about the bride of Farmer, right? And a part of it was really digging into all these clubs in the UK and in Europe that kind of run under the radar. And one of the themes was that they worship the bull, like a bull. And I noticed, and I thought about it after the fact. I was like, wow, it's interesting that they call the bull Baal, B-A-A-L. In the scriptures, they call him Baal or Baal, however you pronounce it. But I'm like, Candace mentions Baal worship a lot. I wonder why Candace brings up Baal worship so much when the club that her husband was the president of is the bowling ding whatever club. And part of it is their logo is the ox, the bull. Why does she bring that up so much? Is it possible that when she accuses other people of Baal worship, she's actually referring to herself? Just the thought, just the theory. It just seems like, wow, because I've never heard anybody say that people worship Baal. You say people worship the devil, people worship money, people worship fame, people worship prestige, but it was kind of weird. Like, where'd you get Baal from? What an odd thing. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's all in our face from the beginning. Maybe that's what she's about. Maybe they actually worship Baal. All right. Do you think it's enough to sway? No. And I'm going to tell you right now, my philosophy on the election. I'll give you my philosophy on the election, then we'll bring my next video in. Maybe my guest is not coming, so I'll just do my two Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk answers a professor, and then Charlie Kirk also deals with some college students. And I know y'all wanted to watch Candace. I'm just going to show you how Candace did her prove me wrongs back in 2018. And I just want to see what y'all think about it. So I'm just going to play this one. Matter of fact, let me do that one right now. So I am going to just play that one. Okay. My philosophy as relates to the election, and every election, and when it's all said and done, whoever is elected is the person that God wants to be in that position, that God has ordained for that person to be in that position. God did not want Kamala Harris to be in that position. So everybody pointing their finger saying it's your fault that she didn't get elected, or it's this group's fault that she didn't get elected. No, God did not want Kamala Harris to be in office. Now, on the same note, the person that is in office is the person that God has put in position for whatever reason. So it doesn't matter what you think Kamala would have done. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden you think would have done. God wanted Trump to be in office. That's it. And I'm perfectly fine with that. That being the case, I don't think that anything that we can do can thwart if God wants a Republican to be in office or if God wants a Democrat to be in office. I do believe that it's very important to get out there and vote. I do believe it's very important for us as the great mass of people to encourage and interact with our neighbors and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, God is going to be the one that makes the final decision. Really, it's just really one vote. There's only one person voting, and it's God. If God wants whomever to be in office, that person will be in office. It don't matter. It really doesn't. All the shenanigans and hijinks that we do is irrelevant. God wanted that person to be in office, and that's it. So my position is this. I don't think we should wring our hands and be like, woe is me, the sky's falling, be demoralized, be unincentivized to participate in the civic duty of voting. We have that right here in this country. Take advantage of it. Do it. Do it. But do it and know that God is the one that casts the final vote. So if all however 100 million, quadrillion people in the United States vote in one direction and God votes in the other direction, that's who's going to be in office. It really is that simple. So I don't think we should lose hope. I do think we should participate, though. We should participate. Don't hear me at all. I want everybody who has sense to participate. If you're one of these people that fall for the Candace Owens IQ test, I don't want you to vote. I want you to sit in the corner and keep chewing on crayons. I don't want you to vote. But those persons who have sense, that have a more than room temperature IQ, and don't fall for the Candace Owens IQ test, please vote. I would say, like they did in Chicago, vote early and vote often, but that's not what I'm going to say. I want us to vote. I want it to be a fair election. Whoever God sees fit that is going to be in office in November and come November 2028 is who God wants. That's it. But we still need to vote. We still need to vote. I really hope that is clear. Right. But we are still, this is our privilege and our duty to vote. Therefore, we participate. Otherwise, we just have anarchy. And that's just crazy. Okay. Yeah, vote. But just know that's how you have peace on however, that's why you won't see me out there ripping my clothes in sackcloth and ashes if Kamala Harris had become president. I would have just been like, okay, God wants Kamala to be president. That's why you don't see me dancing and doing backflips because Trump became president. I'm like, okay, God wants Trump to be president. But that's it. Christ still reigns over the affairs of men, so it really doesn't matter. I mean, Trump, we like to say he's the most important, the most powerful man in the world. No, he's the second most powerful because Christ still rules and reigns over the affairs of men. So it doesn't at the end of the day, Trump is still God's Trump. There you go. What'd you say? I passed the IQ test because I'm here listening to you. I'm so definitely going to vote. Absolutely. Go vote and get 10 or 12 of your people to vote. Get your church members to vote. I went to lunch with my pastor today, and my goodness, in the morning, he was so encouraged by the idea of make marriage great again. And we were talking about it. He said, yeah, that's exactly. He agreed with me. He said about 75% of our problems would be solved if we just made marriage great again. If we made marriage great again in this country, we would see a humongous change in society. I don't know how we went from voting to marriage, but hey, I'm just going on. Hey, this is my ADHD kicking in. All right. But I just thought that was super cool. All right. Let's talk about, okay. This is I'm not going to probably play the whole thing. It's like 20 minutes. If y'all want to, you let me know. But I think if this is how this is why I believe Candace Owens hates TPUSA. She despises TPUSA because you've heard me say it before. If Candace could do it, she would do it. Why doesn't she go and just do a counter to Turning Point? Well, look at what she did. Let's bring it in and let's go. All right. So this is at Colorado State University on April 10th, 2018. She was involved with Turning Point at this time. I don't think she can do better than this. Watch this.
Like all the stuff that we can see online and stuff. I guess my concern with it is that at least in the time that I've been here and been able to see, we had an event where Charlie Kirk was able to come. And, you know, if you were there, if you heard about that event, you heard like you had neo-Nazis coming, you had Traditional Workers Party. And the thing about that is, you know, throughout the course of the night, you know, people who would be in Turning Point would say, like, we don't condone that type of behavior. We don't condone that type of ideology. However, the thing about it is that's how far they would go. It's an organization that, yes, is here for one thing, but it attracts a certain group of people.
Yeah,
I guess.
So first off, this is a great question. I also want to commend him on just being civil, right? I think this is where we get like the most productive things done, is just having a normal conversation and saying what your concerns are. Okay, so Charlie Kirk, thank you. Yeah, can we just give him an applause for being a normal person? I think this applause. Okay, so Charlie Kirk, when he was going around on campuses saying the exact same things that he's always been saying, that he believes in free markets, and he believes in capitalism, and he believes that the government has overextended its reach into every layer of our society, there was no following. The second Charlie Kirk stepped on a plane and started going around with Donald Trump, suddenly everywhere he showed up, neo-Nazis started showing up. These people that were never there when he was just Charlie Kirk saying his ideas, right? What you have to accept is that politics has become a very nasty game, right? And if they don't want you to see an idea or to be presented with a different idea, they will shield you by saying to you, don't even listen to what this person has to say. Just know that outside there are KKK members. So obviously what this person has to say can be wrong. Ben Shapiro is the greatest example of this. I don't know if you've ever heard Ben Shapiro speak. And I do want to personally invite you, we will pay for your travel, like I said to her, to come down to the Student Action Summit and to hear the biggest, most prominent conservative speakers that come together in Florida at the Palm Beach event, right? You should definitely come down and just hear it. What they're saying is it's just common sense, right? They're talking about what they believe and why they believe it. And now all of a sudden, these ideas that we don't need the government is being met with mass protests. I was at the SAS event when people were protesting outside. We had Antifa thugs who looked like kids that are in their basement, right? Like come outside and say it was a racist convention, which was crazy to me because there were so many black people on the inside that were coming out, taking pictures of them, calling them racist. So that is why I think the most important thing you have to understand is like what I always talk about is how to create a mind, right? If they can scare you away from even hearing the idea, you're never going to hear the idea because you're going to start to say this must be the brand.
So, you know what? Now I think I am going to play this whole thing because a lot of you all are picking up how contradictory she is. She loved Ben Shapiro. She was for free market. And notice she's not talking about Israel. Israel has not entered the chat at all. And she's talking about even now, like how they try to dissuade you and discourage you from even engaging in the conversation. That's exactly what she does. This is very interesting. And I believe she was literally cosplaying at this point. That's why I believe she projects so well, because I do believe that this is her ideology. She's just telling you what they believe. She's saying they believe it, but it's really, she should say, I believe this. That's what I believe. I don't believe that I believe she's always been exactly who we see today. That's who she's always been. She's always been that person. She's just faking funk here, in my opinion.
Charlie Kirk has adamantly denounced KKK, Nazis, white supremacy. These people have never been in touch with Turning Point ever. But now that he announces where he's going to speak, everywhere Charlie Kirk speaks, white supremacists, which I'm convinced are hired and they're paid for, show up to his events. And all he is saying is what I am saying here today is that I don't think we need the government. We need more government. I think we need less of it. I think we need, and that's what Turning Point is about. I think we need free markets. We need capitalism. We need to encourage entrepreneurship. And I think that that's been discouraged over the last few years because government is so involved. I have a cousin. I come from a family that's very much on welfare. And he and his girlfriend had this idea they wanted to start a food truck. What they had to go through and pay to even like go outside and try to sell food discouraged him from being an entrepreneur. It's like, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. Kids that want
to. And I also want to point this out. And again, I'm not trying to say that there's not rags to riches love stories and, you know, the Hallmark rom-com doesn't really happen. But just ask yourself, why in the world would a rich millionaire, billionaire son from Europe, what would he find in marrying she said, a welfare, poor black woman from the United States? Like, what was the connection? I'm not saying that there can't be any, but man, like it just seems pretty demonstrative. Like, what did they see? What does he see in her? Did he see in her that caused him to turn his back on whatever he could have got in Europe to come to the United States to marry Candace?
have a lemonade stand, which was totally fine in the 90s. I think the 90s were like the good years, in my opinion, by the way. Bring back, like, you know, all of the 90s TV shows when everything was about pretty much what I'm talking about, is inspiring children to say, go out and be whatever you want to be. You can't even have a lemonade stand now without having to have a government permit. You can't go be a dog walker right now in the state of California because they saw that was becoming a business people were able to do by themselves without getting government permits. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. The government is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're taking more and more money at the same time. They're discouraging.
She literally said it, though. She said she was from a welfare family. She's not from a, I mean, her family, I mean, I've heard her say multiple times that her family is not from affluence. And she was in debt when she met George Farmer. Remember the whole school debt thing, to the tune of $150,000 allegedly. So if nothing else, she herself was an indebted woman when she met this rich billionaire's son. I'm just wondering how that, you know, what was the love connection?
People from entrepreneurship, and that is essentially what Turning Point is about. And that's what our #1 slogan is: big government sucks. That's it. And this is now being called, and this is why I'm here today, is that these kids got calls who believe that big government sucks, right? Which is a theory that, in my opinion, helps Black America, right? Because welfare system has completely decimated our communities, right?
Well, the thing about it is, especially when you look at it, when you look at
Cameraman.
recipients of welfare, it's not necessarily like predominantly African American.
No,
it's actually been shown that it's predominantly affecting and predominantly used by people who are of Caucasian descent.
Well, that's because they're a bigger population. We only represent 13% of the population.
Well, of course, even if it is a bigger population, you still have to break it down to those basic numbers.
Look,
I do agree.
Yeah, you're right. I always talk about the Black community because I'm Black, and that's what I bring to the Turning Point table. Is my mission in life. I make it very clear is to wake up the Black community to what I think has become a system that's kept us down. But everybody that's on welfare, their lives are being.
And this is the thing I picked up on when I was watching a couple of her, again, Q&As and such like that. She doesn't sound like she actually believes this. I don't hear Laura, like I never hear her talk about the Black community now. Like, it doesn't sound like she believes this. It sounds like this is what people want to hear. I really hope I'm making that clear. I don't feel like she understands. This is not a conviction. I do believe that Charlie was convicted about the things that he talked about. And we'll watch a Charlie Kirk in a moment. So I do believe Charlie Kirk was convicted about this. This is coming from a place of deep conviction where he himself has wrestled with these ideas. I don't believe that she actually does believe these things. I just don't. Because I don't see how, and maybe I'm being obtuse, but if she's concerned about the Black family, she literally just said the Black community and welfare, that hasn't changed. This was in 2019. That has not changed in the last 7 years. Why don't you talk about that anymore? Actually, I would say that it's actually gotten worse. But you don't talk about that at all. You would almost think, if you watched her show and you didn't know any better, you could almost assume that she didn't even live in the United States, because she doesn't talk about the United States in any kind of way of reverence or positivity or what we're doing here in this country, but it's all about that sliver of land the size of New Jersey in the Middle East. And it just seems interesting to me, but they have nothing to do with the fact that the welfare, like if you want to say that Black families are predominantly on welfare, that has nothing to do with Israel. So why are you talking about it? Or why are you not talking about Black families?
Negatively impact. They're being de-incentivized, right? I see this with my cousins. Why go get a job or try to do better if the government's going to write you a check to sit on your ass? Why go get a job when you know that if you don't have a job, you get free health care? You know how much they take out for health care if you go get a job? Well, you don't have to pay that if you don't get a job, right? I have cousins that have a lot of children out of wedlock. That's more money every child you have out of wedlock. The welfare system discourages Black women from marrying the fathers of their children. The single motherhood rate has jumped 71% since the welfare system was LBJ's Great Society Act. Those are all problems of the government getting too big. And that's what these socialists on campus are advocating for. They're saying socialism is great. It's obviously not great. The Black community is the best example of why welfare programs and taking from certain people and redistributing it, which they don't do healthily, right, is not great at all, because governments are corruptible. Behind governments are just human beings. You think I'm a bad person, why would you trust your government?
But then I would ask you the question, and then who are the people that are in those positions of power behind your government? That's the big
What do you
question. Well, the thing about it is we keep saying, you know, the government's getting this big or this big or this big or this big, but we're not asking the question of like who is in charge.
I asked that question on my Twitter feed today.
You know, and
yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question.
And the thing about it though is that we're saying, at least in my perspective, at least from what I've seen, I'm not gonna put this back. At least from what I've seen, it's those people who are, you know, advocating for those lesser governments. Those are those business people. Those are those people that are in those entrepreneurial positions already. And whether that was because they decided to go off with an idea that they had 10 years ago, or it's because of a family industry that they've been able to adopt, you have to realize that there's still these big people in power that, yes, are promoting these ideas of less government, but because it does, at the end of the day, help to create their business and help to get it stronger.
But that's good for us. So the thing is, why do we keep demonizing the rich? When the rich, that's what creates jobs. That's what makes people able to get off of welfare when there's more jobs. People get upset when corporations get a tax break. Do you want to know what happened to my liberal sister when corporations got a tax break?
This is so interesting. I've never heard Candace mention her family so much in my life. But, and I've mentioned this before, I feel like she talks about what it is that people will resonate with. When she was talking to Glenn Beck, she was very esoteric, lots of feelings, emotions. When she was talking to Dave Rubin, she was referencing family, but not like this. Now she's on college campus. Well, you got a lot of students that probably miss their families, that are probably wanting to be at home with their people, or they have families that are rooting them on and all that kind of stuff like that. So she mentions family a lot here. This is so interesting. This is interesting. I've never seen her do this before, because it's like the fourth time she's mentioned cousins or siblings. And now she's about to mention her sibling and baby daddies, which is crazy work.
She got $2,000 check, and then she said, "Oh, all right. Well, let me see. Maybe I'll consider voting for Donald Trump in 2020, right?" Because she saw the results. So she was so afraid of that, right? The idea that corporations would get a tax break and that they wouldn't give more to the government. But what history has shown is that when the government takes less, people are incentivized to do more on an individual to individual basis.
So I'm guessing, are you bringing your position, are you bringing it back to trickle down economics there from Ronald Reagan? Is what you're thinking?
Absolutely. I 100% believe that as the more the government gets out, the better that these companies will take care of their employees. I'm not saying just corporations should get tax breaks. That's what I think people try to make when they demonize. They make it seem like, oh, corporations are getting tax breaks. That's not true. As we've seen, so many people that are low employees got so much more money back, are getting more money, seeing more money in each of their checks now, like my sisters, right? So that's not the point that I'm making. What I'm saying is that they are able to go out and hire more of a workforce. That's what we need. Rich people are the solution to poverty, and somehow they've been demonized and punished over the years for building companies. But everybody should go out and do.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like I would disagree with you on the piece about rich people necessarily being the ones to really be able to save us. I mean, if you really look.
When's the last time you got hired by a poor person? No affront to poor people, but poor people aren't starting businesses. Poor people are not able to hire. If you have a business and you're doing a service, car washing, cutting grass, you're not salivating at the mouth to go cut the grass in the projects or the Section 8 house. You want the mansions. You want the large properties. You want the person with 3 and 4 and 5 cars. That's what you want. Like, I'm sorry. I have to agree there that Candace is correct there. I just don't know if she believes it, but what she's saying is correct. I just don't know if she actually believes it in earnest. But let's keep it going.
Look at it, especially in the history of the United States, those who were in an upper class and those who were able to get those resources were able to, I guess, expend people, and were also able to use people only for their gain. You know what I'm saying? And
no,
it's like,
because that's what free markets allows for. So if what you're saying is not a bad point. You're saying a good point, which is like, okay, well, if this guy gets super rich, he's going to say, I'm only going to pay my employees $10 an hour, right? But then guess what? If that guy does that over at GE right? Then the other guy who works at so-and-so can say, I can steal your employees by paying you more. That's what free markets allows for. It's a competition, right? So they have to, well, that's what happens when the government gets out and lets people regulate themselves, is that there's competition. And when there's competition, there's always someone bigger, there's always someone better, there's always someone that's willing to pay their employees more. So you're going to leave that company. He needs employees.
So then I guess my next question is then why is it that the emphasis is more towards rich people when the emphasis, at least in my opinion, feels like it should be more towards the people?
But rich people, and the word rich is a moving target, right? We could be talking about somebody with billions or somebody with a couple 100,000. Because, like, for example, if you wanted to open up a Chick-fil-A franchise, you need to have $250,000 as your down payment. And I think now it's like $750,000. I hate to say it, and it sounds crass, but that's not a lot of money in the world that we're in. It sounds like a lot to most of us, sounds like a lot to me, but it really isn't, right? So I don't know if we should get hung up on the term rich, but let's just think about it as who is actually creating jobs, who's actually buying stuff, right? It's not going to be the low, it's not going to be the poor class. It is going to be the middle. It is going to be the higher middle and the rich that are buying things, that are able to buy things and work and create. I mean, that's just it. I know it doesn't, people don't like it, but that's just the reality of that's what is happening. So I do think that the vilification of the rich is kind of silly, but let's keep going.
Common man, of course the working class man and everything like that, but people like us.
Yeah, but that's what Turning Point's all about. So we're all about the people. So I'm just talking to you right now because we're talking about, my ideas and what I believe in. And I'm just saying that overall we have to stop demonizing rich because we need them, or else the government steps in and we all become dependent on the government, right? But I agree with you. That's what I'm talking about when I say entrepreneurship. That's what I'm talking about when I say we need the government to step away so people aren't afraid to start businesses because they get so taxed and they have so many regulations that they have to follow before they can even get out of the gate. That's what needs to stop. And that is literally exactly when we talk about Make America Great Again, which they made it seem like it was some white nationalist headline. That's what he was talking about. The time when people could go have a lemonade stand and not get stopped by a police officer and say, hey, do you have a license for this lemonade stand to be on this corner? That's all Turning Point's about. That's why I'm trying to let people know on this campus. These are not crazy white supremacists, and you 100% have to, you and you, come to the Student Action Summit in December, and I want to challenge you. I want to call you out when I'm on stage and say these two people are on the left, and so much courage for you guys for coming in and just being able to listen to this. That's all we're asking for. Will you come?
Maybe. I'm actually graduating in May.
You can still come.
We'll see.
Why not? It's in December. Well, Turning Point, we'll get you linked up. We'll get you flights. You come down, you sit in a room, and you hear Ben Shapiro speak. You hear Tucker Carlson speak. You hear all these people that you have been told are awful, crazy white nationalists. You hear Dennis Prager speak, right? And you walk away and you let me know if you really believe what the media has been selling to you. That's what it's all about. Get in the room and see what you're being told. See if it's true.
Well, I think I guess, at least from my perspective, I think the disconnect, at least between Turning Point and, people on the left, I guess my thing about it is, so I actually ended up going to the Charlie Kirk event, and I ended up sitting in and kind of listening, and I don't know, it's just interesting because it's like a lot of the information that he was presenting, I felt like I need to make sure I researched it up or checked it out real quick, because I looked at it, and some of the facts and statistics that I was able to find, I think didn't match up with what I was totally finding. And I think the other disconnect is that I would say the other disconnect and what needs to be emphasized is language. And I think the language that is being used within Turning Point USA and the language that is being used with maybe people on the left is that everybody's kind of throwing these words out. But one side is having a totally different definition while the other side is having a totally different definition from that. And I think one of those best examples is that Charlie Kirk, when he was here, he ended up talking about what he thought the definition of racism was.
Right.
And I was able to look at it and see that at least what he said was totally different from what I initially heard. So I guess my question is I
don't know where he's going. I don't know.
I guess my question is, with Turning Point, what is the disconnect that at least you all see between these two sides that is not necessarily, oh, this side won't listen to us, or oh, this side won't listen to us.
Truly.
No.
So really quick, we have to take you to the airport super soon. So we're gonna do one more question after this, and then unfortunately we have to stop. Sorry.
So I think that we can't ignore that, though. We can't ignore what we saw here today, okay? Everybody was sitting here asking questions. Everyone was invited to sit down. And every single person that we saw come in here and get violence, one girl literally told me that I had to think a certain way because I was black, which I thought was the most ludicrous point of the day, right? Every time we saw a name being washed, somebody being called something, it was coming from the left. They say that they're super tolerant, right? And I'm going to give the respect here to say that she was super tolerant, and she was respectful, and even though we disagree on some things, like she was fundamentally willing to have a conversation. What they do is that they task everybody. The first thing you say is, okay, well, Charlie Kirk, you know, he was here and white nationalists were outside. That is what people are thinking instantly. They're not willing to even listen. They're not willing to have a conversation because somebody else has already told them that this idea is belongs to white supremacy and the KKK, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If Charlie Kirk is a white nationalist and he hired me as his top employee, he's doing a really bad job as a white nationalist, right? Like, we can agree with that, right? People don't care about that stuff. They pretend that I don't exist. And they continue driving the same narrative. They continue to call the people that are here racist and sexist, and that's fundamentally wrong. There can be no conversation if you're going to say that just because you think this way, you're racist or sexist. That exclusively comes from the left. I know that because I came from the left. I was a liberal. I was a leftist. And this is why I left the left. This is why so many prominent people are leaving the left. It's because it's becoming this system of totalitarianism. Either with us, you're against us mob mentality. They are the most violent people that you see on campus. That girl was enraged. I don't know if you were here when she was here with the two different hair colors. She was enraged. She was upset at my existence here, and she couldn't fill out a question. She wanted to yell at me and tell me what I had to think because I was black. I'm not here to tell you what you have to think. I'm here to tell you there's different perspective, and I would love to invite you to hear my perspective and to hear the perspective of other prominent conservatives who, by the way, all disagree with each other on certain topics. Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk disagree on certain things, right? Like, you know, and Dennis Prager disagrees with Charlie on things. I disagree with Charlie on things. But the one thing that we all agree on is that we're allowed to think differently.
Okay. Well, I definitely
That's
do agree with some
interesting.
things. I think the one thing though, I mean, if I could give you some advice, I think the one thing though would be to not give too many generalizations, I would say. Because at least in my experience, what I've seen is that not necessarily it's not either one side or the other that's more violent or more aggressive. I've seen some horrendous things on either side. I've seen things on this plaza. I've seen people who have leaned more conservative that have said, you know, the worst place for an unborn child to be was in the stomach of a black woman. I've heard that. I've heard these things from both sides. So I think
that's true, though, right? Do you know the stats of black babies being what they've done to us? And I'm like adamantly opposed to Planned Parenthood because it's literally decimated the black. It's killed 17 million black babies since the 1970s.
Well,
that's scary. Like that. So I think the language that you're saying is it's inflammatory, right? So it makes you think, what are you saying, right? But when you what they're trying to do is to cause a reaction, and what you're disagreeing with is the strategy to make you say, why would you say that? So what I say to everybody is, do not talk to me about Black Lives Matter unless there are black people outside boycotting Planned Parenthood. Okay, because that is the number one killer of black people in this country is Planned Parenthood. They put them in neighborhoods that black people live in. They encourage black people to kill their babies, and there's no people that are more negatively affected by Planned Parenthood than black people, which was started on the concept of eugenics, of getting rid of black people from the population. So I'm really against Planned Parenthood, but I get what you're saying about the language being inflammatory to.
So I hear what you're saying, especially with the Planned Parenthood piece, and this is like, it is this thing where Planned Parenthood was necessarily made for that eugenics movement. I definitely understand that. However, though, Planned Parenthood wasn't necessarily the thing that put black people in lower income communities. That was actually redline districting.
No, you're right.
By state
I didn't say that. I just said it's a huge. We're talking about black lives, right? People will tell you about police cutting down black people, which happens virtually never. 16 unarmed black men.
Stephen Clark just got shot in California.
Yeah, no, but you want to know how you know that it virtually never happens? Because we can name every single one of the black people that it's happened to, which is pretty amazing,
Black
right?
men or black women?
Black men.
So
okay?
what about black women?
But here's the stat,
same
right?
point
Here's the
still.
stat of black people that are gunned down by police officers. I'm making a point. Give me 1 second. I'm making a point. Okay. 0.0004% of the black population, okay, is unarmed and shot and killed by a black person per year. Okay, more black people are struck by lightning. That's a fact. Okay, fine. If you want to say that it's something we have to talk about when it happens, horrendous things that happen, I agree with it. Do you think I would ever stand up here and defend what happened to Philando Castile? That was horrific to watch. I watched it crying. But my question is always, if this is how you are willing to be reactive and upset, and to get upset and fly into the streets about a black life when it's lost, and it's only 0.004%, 304% of the population, why aren't you outside of Planned Parenthood, where they are ripping black fetuses out of black kids? Don't tell me you care about black lives if you're not willing to boycott Planned Parenthood.
So,
That is my point that I always
the
make.
issue, especially if you go into
So where's this heat right now, though, Candace? None of those things have changed. Not one of those facts that she gave has changed in the year of our Lord 2026. So why is she not pushing for that now? That's still the biggest problem on the planet, at least to the black community, is the fact that more of our babies are deleted than are born. Like, what are we doing? Why are you not making that case? It just seems interesting.
context of Black Lives Matter is not necessarily that it's just focused on police brutality, but it's focused on the systemic problems and issues that are surrounded with police brutality, and the systemic problems and issues that are surrounded within the black community based on the system of white supremacy and capitalism, and a lot of stuff really going down to the fundamental development of the United States.
Right.
And I think when we go and talk about this conversation about, especially about Planned Parenthood, things like that, I do agree with you that, yeah, there are certain issues within Planned Parenthood, but I think the other thing about it is when people think about Planned Parenthood, the first thing they think about is abortions. But they
What else
don't
they do?
address or think about all the stuff that they do in terms of sexual responsibility and sexual safety and things like that.
That's a really harmful ideology to that, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so Hitler and the concentration camps. Okay, he exterminated 6 million Jews. So what if I said to
That's
everybody,
wild.
I don't know why Hitler gets a bad reputation. I mean, they never talk about the fact that he also was building these amazing tanks to help protect the German people. Because you were still exterminating Jews. You're exterminating human beings. The number one thing is you are murdering people. I don't care what you're doing outside of that. I don't care if Hitler said, hey, we also provide free breast exams. I don't care. You're exterminating people. You're murdering someone. There is no way to justify murder, ever. And that gets me, I'm so passionate about it. And I say to you, I will never, ever, ever take Black Lives Matter seriously until they start talking about Planned Parenthood and the fetuses and babies that have been ripped out of their stomachs, the stomachs of black mothers. That's it. I mean, that's like the harshest thing. Unfortunately, I do have to run because I'm gonna miss my flight.
It just seems odd. Like, where did this Candace go? Like, where, if that's what you were most passionate about, I don't hear you ever talking about that. I mean, you do the pre-read for preborn, not minimizing that, but where's that passion for this now? Like, you would think that we've solved all the problems in the United States, and the only problems we have left are those that are created by Israel. Like, that's what it sounds like to me. All right, I think she's got like 3 minutes. I'm sure it's just ending up. She's wrapping it up, so we'll go ahead and call that one a game. Ooh. So what did y'all think? I think the number's way higher, right? But what did y'all think? What y'all think? What a passionate actor is crazy. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I just think it's sad to say that at one point she was very vocal about this topic, and money is her passion. Yeah. But now, I mean, you would think that none of that matters at all. Not a bit. And it is funny, what she said about the failed art student of Germany. That's kind of wild. Only to now be saying the exact same thing. Like, to say the opposite, I'm sorry, that, he wasn't really that bad. He did some good things. Like, she's crazy work. Even to the point that he's being smeared by the Jews. Like, that's crazy work. She forgot what she stood for. I don't think she ever knew, man. I don't. Her leash has been broken. Now she speaks freely. Okay, I can dig it. It's about feeling important, but looking ridiculous. I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, so hey, let's cleanse the palate with a Charlie Kirk debate. This one's pretty short. He's just answering a question from a college professor. I thought it was good. So let's bring this one in and hear what y'all think about it. Y'all know how we do it. Green hearts in the chat when you hear.
Hi, Charlie. Before we start, I want to say I'm a professor here at WCU, and
Well, thank you for no, don't boom. What do you teach?
Fair enough. I'm a sociology professor. I actually teach environment and climate change. Don't worry, that's not my question. I have no desire to talk about that today. Before I start, though, I actually want to surprise you maybe a little bit and say that I appreciate that you're here. If nothing else, hold on. If nothing else, as someone who wants so badly to see our students engaged in politics and the life of the mind, this is great. And you should give yourselves a hand for showing up and be out here to talk about ideas. I do want to focus my question, if I can ask a question rather than doing this whole polemic thing, on the students that are here. So I've taught here for 6 years. I've gotten to know hundreds of our students. Every semester I ask them what they care about, what they want, what concerns them. And I think you probably know this, what scares them the most is that the day that they leave here and they go on the job market, they enter the labor pool, that they're not going to find a job. They're not going to find a job. They're going to have a hard time buying a home. They're not going to be able to afford to have a family. Do you agree with that? Do you all agree with that?
Well, largely. I mean, if they're studying sociology, they might not be able to find a job.
Well,
but I
mean,
mean, you're kind of proving that college is not really a good use of time.
So for what it's
if
worth,
the students
Charlie,
you're talking to can't find jobs, why are they learning from you?
Sorry, for what it's worth, Charlie, I mostly don't teach sociology students.
Dang, Charlie. Good gracious. Man. Well, I mean, he did walk into that buzzsaw, so he deserves that. Wow.
I mostly teach students from across campus who are interested in things like the environment and climate change. I teach very few sociology students. It's actually a lot of environmental science, engineering,
even
finance,
more so,
accounting, a lot of people with the kinds of degrees that you think are very valuable. Anyway, they remain concerned. What I would love to hear from you, genuinely, is what you believe the Trump administration has done in these first 4 months that is making the economic futures of these young people better.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's been in office for 80 days, but quite a lot. Number one, the price of oil is already down, so it's easier for everyone here to be able to drive home. The gas is going to be cheaper, which also will lower inflation. Number two, a tax bill will hopefully passed, which is no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, largest middle-class tax cut in history. Yeah. So everyone here that's going to have a job where overtime is incorporated, they'll be able to keep more of their money. Number three, we're opening up federal lands to build more homes, which is a great thing because home ownership is way inaccessible for a lot of people in this audience. And it's going to take some time. And one of the main reasons why President Trump won is because we were able to move the youth vote rather significantly and substantially because the Democrat Party, A, took younger voters for granted. I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely.
And B, they did not have an optimistic, hopeful agenda for home ownership, for getting married and having children in this country. So I would like to see the Trump administration go even further and make it so that every young person in this country can have accessibility to be able to own a home. I think they should prohibit major funds like BlackRock from buying up private family homes so that we have to compete against them. And I'll just do another thing I'm privately lobbying for and publicly, because I'll say it here, is I don't think the Chinese Communist Party should be able to buy up farmland in the western part of the United States.
Absolutely.
And with that, single family homes. So that's just some of the ideas here.
Sure. So can I respond? I actually agree with most of what you're saying. I'm not sure that opening up federal lands for housing is going to really solve our housing crisis. I'm not sure lowering the cost of gasoline is really going to deal with the other kinds of inflationary pressures that the Trump administration is putting on the economy, because you didn't really mention the most important thing that he's done, which is place massive tariffs on imports into the United States, which has caused retaliatory tariffs, which are putting economic pressures on American businesses. So it's not only actually jacking up the price, it's functionally a tax on all of us. We're all just going to pay extra for things that get imported. So there's inflation. But all of this conflict, the import, the cost of living going up, the pressure is being put on businesses also means that the odds of a recession are also going up by every estimate, not just academic economists, but economists from the government, as well as economists who are working in finance or in the private sector. How do you reconcile the increasing cost of living, the odds of a recession, with the idea that the Trump administration is making the economic futures of young people better?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I fully acknowledge that what we inherited from Joe Biden was, no, I mean, of course, you inherit. You want me to prove to you how bad the economy was we inherited?
Sorry, just
you can laugh and chuckle.
Real quick. I think that the problems facing the American economy are bipartisan. They've been caused by both parties over 40 years.
Hold on. Let me prove to you how
It's
that's
not a
not
Biden
true.
problem.
No, no,
It's
no, no,
not
no,
an
no.
Obama
Time out.
problem. It's a
Let me
Bush and
prove to you.
Biden and Obama
See,
problem.
No, hold on. Allow me to finish my
go
point.
for it. Go for it.
And the audience, your students, will teach you something. Is that okay?
I would love that.
Who had a stronger economy, Joe Biden or Donald Trump's first term? It's not so. So you could say it's a bipartisan problem, but when Donald Trump was president, blue collar workers and young people saw their incomes rise faster than the 1%. When Joe Biden was president, the wealthy got wealthier than any other time in American history. We saw the 1% explode their asset class, and young people and workers had a tougher time. As far as tariffs go, we're still very, let's just say, new into this rather risky experiment that the American people voted for. It could raise prices, or it could end up being where we strike really good trade deals and we sell more of our own products to these countries. And tariffs are a forcing function to open up markets. But I think it's actually really promising that a president is willing to risk even his own political favorability to do something that every other politician has promised, which is to protect the American worker. I really think that's political courage in spades. But I could address the other points, but if you'd like to interject.
You're right. Like it's risky. And I think that's an excellent way to frame it. So I guess my follow-up question is, what's the theory behind how this will work? And how long do we need to wait until we give up on the experiment?
Well, first and foremost, we don't know whether, so when you are the incumbent economic player, tariffs can help you. The entire world would love to be a consumer economy. We are a consumer economy. But if you are only a consumer economy, that comes with some problems. We don't make vitamin C in this country. It's all made in China. No, it's a real thing. You literally can't survive without vitamin C. Our antibiotics are made in China. You can laugh all you want. Our pharmaceutical materials, our aluminum, our ion.
I don't know why he does that. I kind of wish he would either get off of the mic, like step back from the mic, because it seems like he's just signifying. I don't know if he's like trying to be rude, but it does come across like he's being intentionally like kind of rude. So I can kind of see why Charlie keeps pushing back on it. Like, just step back from the microphone. And if you're going to signify, do it with the microphone off or away from the mic, off mic over here. Like, don't do it right into the mic, because I do think that does seem like it's causing Charlie Kirk to respond negatively.
Our rare earth minerals, we can't make a drone without at least half the components or parts made in mainland China. That's a national security problem. And so by using prudence, which is, of course, one of the highest of all the virtues, President Trump is able to weigh the costs and the benefits while also asking the most important question. Am I going to be able to have America not be a vassal state to the Chinese Communist Party while also improving the well-being of the people who voted for me, and not just people who voted for me, but every American person, every American citizen? Finally, if tariffs are nothing but downsides, why does China use them? There are some upsides potentially to tariffs, to protect some industries or to incentivize domestic production. And finally, I think I want to double down and reiterate this point, which is that the people in this audience that voted for President Trump were trying to send a message to their leaders that you haven't listened to us. The experts have gotten so much wrong. You guys stole prom away from us. You stole graduation away from us. You guys from the COVID lockdowns. And it's time for us to try something new. I'm simply just...
That's great. I don't know what that has to do with the question that I asked, which was about the use of tariffs. I don't know what that has to do with prom.
Well, hold on. But
no. You're redirecting the question. I want to talk to you about the tariffs.
Can I tell you what it has to do with tariffs, actually? Because I'll complete the point, because you have a PhD and I didn't go to college. So let me maybe make sense it for you, okay? But I was saying what it has to do with tariffs is that they don't trust what the experts have been saying, because the experts locked down this generation and unnecessarily masked them for 2 years. So when the experts say tariffs don't work, excuse us when we say, actually, you have completely invalidated all of your predictions the last couple of years. Do you see how they connect?
Well, I see how that connects to how people think about tariffs. I think that's different than what tariffs actually do.
Well,
and it's perfectly fine to be frustrated.
That's what they do.
Now you let me talk.
Well, hold on.
You let me talk. You keep telling me not to interrupt you. I'm not interrupting you.
That's what you think they do. I'm going to add some context to what you're saying. However, we have not yet done an experiment of tariffs as the incumbent economic superpower when we have mass robotics, artificial intelligence, we are energy independent, and our greatest adversary is energy dependent. So you don't know what's going to happen, and the American people voted for the experiment.
Then let me redirect you back to the question that I asked you and that you didn't answer. So it's an experiment. It's risky. These are your words. These are the words you have used. Yeah. How long do we have to wait? And when do we know that they've worked? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? Is it 4 years from now? Prices are still up.
Well, prices are not going
hiring,
up.
hiring
Inflation
is
going down.
No, it's inflation is not going to go down.
But it already is, though.
You've put a tax. You've increased the cost of living.
Okay, I would say in this regard, I do think Charlie should put the microphone down and just let the guy, because again, when you let them talk, they will eventually stumble. I think he should just go back to putting the microphone down and letting the guy talk, because I do think that it's just becoming combative. And I think Charlie's doing fine, but I think this gentleman needs to get everything out so that he can actually hear what he's saying.
So how?
So doctor, what's your
Bugden.
name? Buddington?
Bugden.
Dr. Bugton. How does one avoid a tariff?
Do you mean like how do we not impose tariffs intentionally on ourselves?
But let's educate the audience. If you're Toyota, how do you avoid a tariff?
In the current climate, you would build cars here, which Toyota does. Toyota invests $1 billion a year.
Trillions of dollars are coming into the United States thanks to tariffs. Trillions of dollars. NVIDIA pledged $500 billion.
Those have nothing to do with the tariffs. Those were pre-existing agreements.
Toyota
Charlie.
just announced 10 new plants in Indiana and Ohio because of the tariffs.
Okay.
Hyundai the same.
How long do we wait?
They are. Well,
how long until they build those plants? Is it next year? Is it 5 years? Is it 6 years?
They've announced it. They're going to break ground soon. However, I think the more operative question that you're asking is that if something doesn't work, President Trump will not follow it blindly because he's not an ideologue on this. You can laugh and you can kind of shrug your shoulders. In fact, he's a patriot. Unlike the prior president, he actually cares about the well-being of the American people. And so if what he is doing with tariffs start to have overwhelming evidence that it's not working for the American people, then he will pivot or adjust. But let me tell you the other component. We're about to pass a massive tax bill in conjunction with the tariff strategy that will make us the most desirable market on the planet to do business. The American worker is about to take more money home than they ever have in the last 50 years. Again, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. We're going to have a massive middle-class tax cut, an expanded child tax credit, things that the Democrats and Joe Biden refuse to do. President Trump is going to deliver in massive numbers. So I would like to say, despite what the experts say, oh, there's a recession coming, it might be true. But again, this is the same expert class that has completely lost any credibility with the American people the last couple of years. President Trump's been in office for 80 days. Remember when everyone was complaining about the price of eggs? Well, the price of eggs has gone down. The price of oil has gone down dramatically, like $20 a barrel. Give President Trump some time. And by the way, it only took him 10 days to solve the border crisis. Turns out we did not need a border bill. We just needed a new president to secure the southern border.
For what it's worth, I haven't had lunch, so I'm going to leave and let the next person talk. Sure. I just want to say, I do want to reiterate my point. It's for you to reflect on and for everyone here to reflect on. It is a risk. And the president has taken an enormous gamble, not with some abstract thing called the economy. It's your future. It's your jobs. It's your ability to get hired. It's the ability to buy a house and have kids.
No, you know who took the biggest? I got to interject.
And all you need to do, all that anyone should really bother doing, is not to fight about it, but to just pay attention to what actually happens and to reflect on whether what Charlie said is true, that this president is actually a patriot and is actually adapting and is actually doing things to make your life better. Okay?
Yes, and they voted for him for a reason, because they saw his first term and how well he did and how Joe Biden destroyed the country intentionally. Thank you, doctor, and I wish you well.
Okay. Shout out. I appreciate these. And hold on, I got another one just popped up. Okay. I think, again, I don't think people fully understand some abstract concepts like the economy. Have you ever just driven around your community, drive around your town, and just ask yourself, how much did it cost to build this building? How much did it cost to build this whatever bridge or the road, or the amount of money that goes into communities is staggering. Like, wow, how much does it take to, I was driving in downtown Atlanta yesterday, and it was, I was in Atlantic Station. If you're familiar with it, it's a very nice downtown, a little north of true downtown Atlanta. But I mean, there's Google is down there, Microsoft is there, Wells Fargo has an office down there. There's all of these humongous skyscrapers in this little, 8-block radius. I mean, it's very nicely done. And I'm like, man, how much did it cost to put this building up and this building and this parking deck? The amount of money that goes into communities I'm sorry, it doesn't even make sense. And I think for the argument that this gentleman was making, which by the way, I'm not certain I disagree fully on what he was trying to get from Charlie and what Charlie was saying. I just think that they weren't listening to each other. And definitely don't think the professor was. Maybe they should boil it down to something really, really niche. Like here in this community, I think they're at Washington Central University or whatever. But here in this community, the price of houses has gone up this much. How are you expecting people to be able to buy those houses? Something like that. Like keep it, because when we get all abstract and talking about tariffs and all of that, man, like eyes are rolling back in the back of my head. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up. I fell asleep on it. I'm sorry. And I just think that we could do a better job of bringing everybody in to see exactly what's going on. Because I don't think that it's as clear when we're looking at okay, somebody was asking about what was was happening at the airport. Well, guess what? We got TSA agents and the ATL. They're helping with scanning passports. Atlanta ICE agents handling passport scanning at the international side this morning. Let's see. Oh, that's exactly what we look like. That's exactly us. Man, they're calling out still. Okay. Let's see. What? That is the most Atlanta thing you're gonna see. That is so Atlanta. Okay, so airport this morning. Let's see what this says. Okay. That's about, I hate to say that's normal. That's normal for general boarding. There's only one agent right there, and ICE agents aren't trained to scan passports. Okay. Let me see. Is there anything else? Yeah, this is Atlantic Station. Oh my gosh, yes. I'm like, look at this buildings, man. No, this is not Atlantic Station. This is across from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Sorry. But man, like, that's crazy. I hate to say, yeah, that's like Christmas normal. Let me say it like that. It's like Christmas normal. Here's another one right here. Oh, this is TSA pre-check. Okay. TSA pre-check taken today, domestic, 4 a.m. Wait time is about 71 minutes. That's not good. That's supposed to be much better than that. But I mean, compared to several hours on Monday, okay. Shout out to pre-check. All right. 9:30 a.m. Atlanta Airport. That looks like pre-check. Yeah, oh, it is pre-check. I knew it. Okay, so yeah, that's pre-check right there. 7-minute wait. I really think it's just a matter of okay, Atlanta Airport International side, photos taken at 8 a.m. Yeah, that is empty. That's empty, my dude. How you got me doing this, man? Okay, this is on the 25th. So this is yesterday. Atlanta Airport this morning. Security line was out the door at 5:49 a.m. A major TSA staffing shortage tied to the ongoing government shutdown is driving longer wait times. TSA agents are currently working without pay and is clearly taking a toll. Many agents are not showing up to work simply because they can't afford to. I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, that's horrible. Because they're just treating people like pawns. Okay, so that is definitely what it looks like outside. That is definitely what it looks like outside. Today's forecast. That is definitely Atlanta for sure. So shout out. Yeah, man. All right. So prayerfully, cooler heads are going to prevail, and we'll get something done with this TSA foolishness because it does look bad, especially as you're getting ready for trips. We're getting ready. Get ready for the summer, stuff like that. So I'm right there with you. All right, let us get going. Thank y'all so much. By the way, thank you so much to the very kind Adam, thank you so much for being the stream sponsor. Can she get a better hairdresser? It looks like a little fake and bit nappy. Man, I think Candace had a glow up. I will say that. Is that what this is called? A glow up? I think, she hit that money train with George Farmer, and he is not, I mean, it did not disappoint. Once All right. All right. When President Firstborn calls, I always try my best to answer. I don't like leaving my kid. So anyway, President Firstborn called, asking questions. We got answers. Dad comes through. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, everybody, let's keep this going. I do want to say thank y'all to everybody who has been participating in my March Madness. If you go to my community posts every day, I picked the 8 best performing videos on my channel for the month of March. I seeded them 1 through 8, and I pit them against one another. And all I ask you to do is watch the videos and vote which one you think is the best or which one you like more than the other. So far, today's day 2, so you can still vote for yesterday's. Today's day 2, and tomorrow, of course, will be day 3. Every day at 2:00, I drop it, and then on Sunday we'll do the final 4. On Monday, we'll do the championship round and determine who's the winner of which one did you all like the most. So anyway, thank y'all for participating in that. The voting has been great. So I appreciate you. What's going on, friend? How are you, Biblical Worldview? Good to see you. No, she was, we're working on getting her moved out because she'll be moving out the end of the first week in May. So I already ordered her movers and trying to see if any of her little friends want to store this stuff over the summer since we're gonna have a storage unit. So she has to call me about it. She can't call her mom. So she has to get on that. And she also was asking me about a internship that she wants to do. I want her to do an internship. Just go out and do great things. So anyway, that's what we were talking about. All right, good people. Let's see what Charlie had to say. We had another student that we will, you know what? I got 2 of them. Sorry about that. I got 2 of them. Let me pull this one in. Because I really don't, this one is akin to our conversation, the video I dropped earlier about whether or not Turning Point USA needs to be involved in religious activities. And I think this one probably was a little bit more akin to that, kind of following that speed, if you will. I pray August. Yeah, I do believe it'll probably get cleared up, but I just want to know, like, how do Democrats think they're going to win after this? Like, if they keep dragging this out, how are they going to win? Like, because I can see Trump bringing National Guard in for crowd control, more ICE agents, and such of that nature. But like, how do Democrats win from here? This is the Democrats to lose. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the Republicans to lose. Like, Republicans would have to do something boneheaded to lose that. All right, let's bring this back in. Let's go. If you don't mind, my good people, green hearts in the chat when you can hear.
You love the Bible, correct?
It's the word of God.
Exactly. Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. So I'm just here not necessarily to debate, but more to understand your line of reasoning. I want to understand how when you practice and preach religious governance and issues like that, as with your abortion and status on gay marriage, why don't you also support things like free lunches for kids? The Bible over 2,000 times mentions it, helping the needy at every instance, and that if you don't help the needy, you are not doing the word of God and he will not help you.
Yeah, great. Did I mention the Bible once in my abortion argument earlier?
Okay, I don't know. I'm just thinking
No, you didn't. I just want to be clear, though. But
I'm just thinking of what I've heard before. Sorry.
No, but I do believe it's the word of God. Of course, we should help the needy. Can you show me a specific verse where it says, make sure you pay a bunch of money to the government and taxes to help the needy?
I would say specifically that I think.
Oh man, she done walk right into the buzzsaw. Y'all, we got it, man. We're gonna have to say a prayer for my little girl, right? She got a strawberry shortcake on her shirt. Y'all pray for shortcake because she don't walk right into this. Man, she walked right into this haymaker. Good gracious, man. I knew he was going to say that too. I knew it. I just knew he was going to do this.
As Christians, it should be the number one priority to find a system that works to make sure that every single person is fed. And I think it truly, if we're
that is not a Christian principle. No, that's not. Let me back that up. Let her. I love when people who are not Christian tell Christians what they need to do. That is some crazy work. That's some crazy work.
It's the word of God. Of course, we should help the needy. Can you show me a specific verse where it says, make sure you pay a bunch of money to the government and taxes to help the needy?
I would say specifically that I think as Christians, it should be the number one priority to find a system that works to make sure that every single person is fed. And I think it truly, if we're looking at the word of God, you have to look at the fact that you should go through every cost yourself. As the Bible specifically says, I can pull up a verse on my phone right now that says specifically in the Bible that you should feed the needy at the cost to yourself. You should help those in need.
Hold on. Feed the needy at the cost of yourself. She talking fast, and I think she ain't saying nothing. That's an interesting one. And that's interesting. I want to see if she does pull out a camera.
Cost yourself. If it's a couple pennies out of my tax dollars to feed those don't have food, I think that's a Christian obligation of the government to fulfill.
But no, that again, it's never biblically obligated to use the state to do that.
Okay,
the church should do that.
Okay, perfect.
And that's so I personally give a fair amount of my tithes and my donations to local churches to help do these things. And I hope everybody else does that as well.
Okay.
And in fact, I believe
to the meat of my question. If I could get more to the meat of the question.
Whoa, wait. And somebody mentioned earlier, like listening to answer and not listening to understand. To me, I don't think she listened to what that man said. I don't think she listened to what Charlie just said. I am going to back up a little bit. I don't think she listened to what Charlie Kirk said because he answered her question. She should say, okay, thank you, and keep it moving. She just wants the government to do something because what Charlie is saying is basically we are responsible to do that as individuals and individual church communities, not government, which I agree with wholeheartedly. All right, let's listen to how he answers and how she replies.
Is to help do these things, and I hope everybody else does that as well.
Okay.
And in fact, I believe
to the meat of my question. If I could get more to the meat of the question then. So why do you think there should be some policies that should be governed at the state level, but then not other policies when it's sort of governed like this, when it's specifically over 2,000 times in the Bible?
Right. So we go back to the Constitution because that's our core governance. So if it's in the Constitution, it should be there, such as border security, national security, printing of money, the Treasury, enforcing of interstate commerce, Department of Justice, those tariffs, collecting of duties. However, the government providing food to its citizenry is not in the Constitution, and it should be a last gap effort. And I suppose the question is, I don't know if you're a Christian or not, and if you are, wouldn't you say it's better for churches to feed people than the government to feed people?
Yeah, okay, so I am a Christian, and I do think that by any means necessary, the number one
Then why didn't you just answer the question then? Then he asked you a question. He asked you a yes or no question. I'm sorry, he asked you two yes or no questions. Are you a Christian, and do you think that it'd be better for individuals versus the government? You didn't answer that second question.
Priority of every single citizen in society under Christian values, as you like to preach, should be to help their fellow man, to help them feed, help them get clothes, and help the needy. And I think that out here preaching, if you think that the government is a means of, at the end of the day, it's inevitable. The government is inevitable. And I think that we have to have that means that has such a mass scale of outreach to help feed people and to help give them their needs. I think that churches, they lack a lot of central organization that the government has to help reach out with them to help feed them.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. If all the money we spend on the government to feed people went away, Do you think the church would step up and make sure there's not a single hungry person in America?
I think that they would try, but again, I think that the government is a unique position that as Christians we should be using to fulfill the will of God.
How is the government in a better position than the church? Build that out for me.
Yeah,
Are there more churches or more government buildings in America?
Yeah, so let me actually get to that. Can the church make laws?
Well, no, but the church actually
The church
can collect money and actually deploy it much more effectively than the federal government can.
And,
in fact,
okay, perfect. A question then I got on taxes. I would love if my tax dollars went to helping people who needed food. That's my argument here.
Well,
I think
it does. Over $1 trillion a year goes to food stamps and SNAP and Medicaid.
Perfect.
So
and I'm glad with
no,
that.
but actually it doesn't help them nearly as much as you think. Let me tell you why. Because then we subsidize bad eating habits of the poor, so that the working poor is very obese, so they go buy Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and Frito-Lays. And the church is not involved, where the church would then say, hey, instead of going to the local grocery store with a bunch of food stamps and SNAP benefits, why don't you come by our church and we'll feed all of you and a much more healthy meal made by our own members, and then you can hear the gospel afterwards. That's the church in practice. What the government does, and I want you to respond, what the government does is it creates distance and it creates separation and it creates murkiness between the person issuing the help and the person receiving the help. What private charity and philanthropy does, as the church designed it, is it's much more relational. So there is a single mom coming into the church saying, I can't feed my kids, I need help. I would believe that every church in America would not say, sorry, we're closed here. They would say, here's our food bank. Here's how we can help you. We will cook you a meal. We will give you what you want. Where the faceless government, we've seen this in Europe, and I don't mean to go on too long about this. In Europe, the state is huge. The government is huge, and the church is small. The church does not do charity. It does not do food banks. It does very little of that because the government takes care of it. I actually think that's deeply unhealthy. I want a small government and a big church, where Europe has a big government and a small church.
Okay. I have a few key arguments against that.
What's
Just
the
one
argument?
quickly, I think that people, despite like their monetary status and like where they stand in society, like monetarily, I think that they should be able to choose what food they get to some extent at the grocery store. But also too,
I don't even. I hate this because she totally ignored what that man said. I'm sorry. I almost don't even want to watch the rest of this, because again, we want a small government and big church. And the problem is, another aspect of this that Charlie doesn't bring up is because churches are detached from the giving and caring for their poor amongst them. Now they have more money to do things that don't apply to building a community, like building edifices that are entirely too big, or all these other shenanigans and such of that nature. But if government got out of the way and people looked at churches as what they should be, as a means to help the poor, but also you have people to walk alongside you. So if you come to a church and say, hey, I'm down bad this month, and somebody walks alongside you and helps you, maybe you just need a budget. Maybe you need some help understanding how to do your finances or your taxes or whatever. Maybe you need a job and they can help you. You might not be down bad next month, or 2 months later, you might find yourself in a totally different position. That's not what happens in government. So I do think that Charlie did a great job of answering. I think this young lady just totally missed what he was saying because she wants to talk about whatever she's talking about.
on that, like unhealthy food is substantially cheaper than good food. So that's also kind of that situation that
Not
you're
as much
pointing
as you
out.
think, but yeah.
But it is cheaper at the end of the day. If they're pinching pennies, then ultimately they're going to weigh a cost.
we do
50 cents
not
less.
I have to interrupt you. Just so we're clear, we do not have a starvation crisis in America.
Right.
I would say that I think that
We
there
have an
are a lot of
obesity problem.
issues with it. I think that the thing is we don't have necessarily starvation crisis, but we have a mismanagement of resources to the point where kids are going hungry. I'm not sure the exact rate, but they are going hungry.
They're 10% of kids claim food insecurity.
That's 10% of kids.
But
That means that they don't know where the next meal's coming
we
from.
don't
That's
know what
important.
that term means.
Right.
Half of our kids are clinically obese by the age of 15.
Okay, so
That's
let's go on.
And keep in mind, there are terms like food insecurity, food desert, and such like that really are nebulous, and they use them as a bludgeon, but there's not an actual clear definition. What do you mean? Just because you're saying that I don't have access to food within 3 miles of my house, I don't know if that really means the same thing as you might think it means. That's my point. Okay. I think you can now. I think you can. But imagine that, even if that, like what would change if the government stopped providing food stamps? I'm going to go on a limb and say that we would see a lot more community markets sprout up, we'd see a lot more churches stepping in, food banks stepping in, and it's such of that nature. But I really don't think people realize that there are situations that almost build upon themselves. So, example, people that are poor that need, not just people who take advantage of, but need financial support from the government. Why do they need it? We don't actually ask that question. What if they needed it because they don't have a good job? They don't have any trade skills. They don't have a good education. And the church was able to step in and help them with that and provide them with a job. And now they are gainfully employed and they're not down bad. Or help them with their job skills so that they can get a better job. Like there's a lot of opportunities that come from, hey, you know what? The government is providing too much support and it is almost retarding people to the point that they're not able to do anything for themselves because they just know the check is coming. But if we remove that check is coming, now they're working a little bit harder. They're a little bit more lean, a little bit more intentional. And look at that. All right, let's go.
Much bigger problem than food insecurity.
Okay.
We have too much bad food being fed to our kids.
Okay, perfect. On that argument again of food insecurity, that just means they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. That's what that means. But also more onto this specifically, I think that again, obesity can be a problem to solve. But when there are kids that are going hungry, I do think it is a responsibility of the government because, like I said, churches can't make laws. I think that they are important, but they cannot have the outreach and the standard of providing free lunches to school kids every single day because they can't afford food. They don't know if they're going to go home and have dinner on their table. So all I'm arguing here today, again, my final question before I get off is just, do you think that you are upholding your Christian values by not holding the government accountable when the government is the easiest way to get food to people?
No, I actually don't think it's the easiest way. I think that private charity, individuals helping individuals is the best way to offer help.
But is that working enough right now? Or should we have a system to give free lunches to kids?
We do. That problem is you're actually living in the big government era and it's not working. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars on your desired objective. We have food stamps. We have school supported lunches. We have taught.
Okay, how widespread are those school supported lunches?
Incredibly.
Can you give me statistics? Because because I know that growing up in the state of Idaho, I never once had a free school lunch neither did anybody I know, unless it was during COVID.
I will say something controversial.
Well, okay, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. As a former school teacher, I can tell you this, and I know this. School districts that are not impoverished, they don't have a certain number of people in a certain economic bracket, they don't get free lunch. And for this young lady to sit there and say she didn't get free lunch, it probably means that y'all made too much money. Now, there are school districts that they just have done away with that limit and everybody gets free lunch, which is kind of dumb in my opinion. But there are affluent school districts that have just said, look, everybody gets free lunch. If you want a lunch, you can get a lunch. Okay. But if she says she didn't get a free lunch, there's a high probability that she didn't earn it. She didn't need it. Because she don't look like she's starved. She don't look like she was emaciated. So therefore, the likelihood is that your mom and dad probably made more money than you think. And I think she knows that. I don't think that's Strawberry Shortcake's problem.
And I actually don't think it's the role of the state to feed a kid at school. It's the role of the parents to feed those kids.
I agree.
And I agree. And you might say, oh, if the parents don't have money, the parents, I think, have to get more and more involved to taking care of your kids. And the more the state grows into that realm, the smaller it actually makes the American family. Final point.
Okay, one quick follow-up on that. I think that specifically parents are often struggling. They often give up their own meals to give to their kids. But hang on, let's move up to this. That's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Okay, exactly. Now let's move, but they shouldn't have to. They should also be able to get food themselves. I think that the key argument here is that they need to be able, because the government has so many resources to provide food for people. And I think that if you are up here and that your religious values, I know that you're against gay marriage and often that's by your religious values. So I would say that specifically when we look towards issues like that, if we're going to have some religious governance, you have to do what the Bible says over 2,000 times and provide food to the needy and help heal the needy.
Yes, and we do. And what I'm saying, though, is that it has been proven to really not work very well. The best way to help the needy.
Then do you not think it's the Christian duty then to find everything we absolutely can do to help them?
Yes, and we know how to do it, and that is the local church helping them.
Okay, perfect. So then do you think that also then comes from government ordinances and government support?
Why does she keep bringing government in? Like, listen to what he said. Listen to what the man said. Yeah, there's a lot of the young lady. I don't think people keep saying take a breath. she just wants to say something. She just wants a gotcha moment. And again, that's all it is. There's nothing more here to see. We're not going to get a real somebody's actually listening to them and actually considering what's being said.
And tax cuts for the churches?
Well, first of all, churches don't pay taxes.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, no longer adding taxes, because I've seen that things that people want to add taxes to churches.
We shouldn't. No, they're tax exempt organizations. But again, our view as Christians and conservatives is the government doesn't do it well. The government operates by force, and the local Christian nonprofit, the local Christian church, or whatever, it does a much better job of delivering help to those in need than a big government. Thank you for your time, though.
It's believed to be back to the fundamentals of when this country was started and the Constitution was made, that there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but it seems you don't believe that anymore.
Well, where does it say that in the U.S. Constitution?
It was written in the Constitution. I don't exactly remember what part, but it has been written.
It's not, actually. So, and that's okay. I'm going to help you out here. Okay. There's the Free Expression Clause and the Establishment Clause. So what you're thinking is of the First Amendment. What you're thinking of is that Congress shall make no law prohibiting or promoting the exercise of religion or the free exercise thereof. Now, mind you, the separation of church and state is not in the U.S. Constitution. And that's okay. Not a lot of people know this. It is from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1803 to the Danbury Baptist Convention in Massachusetts, saying to the church, the government will not come after you. There was no question at the time of the founding that God played a central role in all of our government. In fact, God is there in 4 times mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. And never should we, and you would agree, there should never be separation of morality in state.
But then I have another question, not the second question, but do you believe there should be a separation between those two things, church and state?
Well, it depends on, let's play it out. Do we currently have that? During COVID, the government was able to shut down the church. Should that be allowed?
I mean, I don't believe so, no.
Okay, so the point is that we don't even have separation of church and state because the state was able to tell the church whether or not that you could practice on Easter. Now, that's the standard that they currently have. Do I believe in a separation of morality and state? Of course not. Now, the morality that built the West is the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is the best rules of life for any society to flourish and to be able to succeed. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall have no other idols. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. Honor your mother and fathers. May live long in the land of which you are in. Honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Do not covet. Do not commit adultery. It's out of order, but that's still the 10 Commandments. Those rules for life is what the founders believed, so much so that they're in the halls of Congress and the Supreme Court. That we believe is transcendently transmitted to us, and that when we do not submit to those 10 Commandments, our country starts to fall apart.
But if you think about it, most wars in when religion gets entangled into a culture and even government, most wars have started because of that.
So that's a talking point that has no basis, and that's okay because a professor told you that. So let's go to the truth. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. What religion did Mao Zedong believe in, the great murderer of China who killed 50 million people?
I don't know.
Yeah. He was an atheist. What religion did Joseph Stalin believe in, who killed over 30 million people of the Soviet Union?
An atheist.
He was an atheist. So that's 80 million people murdered in 2 countries in just the 20th century that did not believe in any religion. So it's an easy talking point to say that religion causes war, but in reality, it seems as if actually totalitarian dictatorships rooted in atheism and a lack of the divine is what caused more human suffering in the 20th century than not. Adolf Hitler was not a Christian. Adolf Hitler was at war with God and thought he was God and a total maniac. So there is no basis for what you're saying. You might be thinking about like the Crusades or something like 600 or 700 years ago.
I wouldn't give
or
him
the
even
Inquisition. If that's the case, I think you need a better argument because religion actually keeps people sane, free, and moral, not towards war and conflict.
But isn't the war that's currently occurring in Israel and Palestine over religion and their land?
Yes and no. It's more over territories and boundaries. Of course, they're religious wars, but if you look at the major wars over the last 30 or 40 years even, some are religious, some are not. But Russia and Ukraine, are they fighting over religion?
No.
No. Or Central African Republic Civil War, are they fighting over religion? No. So it's an easy talking point. There really is no truth to it in the modern era.
I've researched your positions. I know you've come out and said you don't believe in the separation of church and state. And
no, I think that was a solid answer. What y'all think about that? I think it was solid. Let's go.
I'd like to ask you why, even though there's the non-establishment clause, freedom of religion, and then there's, lawsuits in the, like, historically, like Anglo versus Vital, that come out to say that church and state should be separated.
It's a fair question. So I don't believe in a national church.
Okay.
More importantly, let's forget church and state.
Okay.
Can we both agree there's no separation between morality and state?
I agree.
Okay.
It's just lawmaking.
That's cool. That's where I really live in. What I'm saying, though, is the church should influence that morality. That's what I mean by that. Because at some point, people are going to have to make a decision of what is good and what is bad, what is permissible and not permissible. And I think the church or Christianity should inform those decisions.
So, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and it's undeniable that there's been a heavy Christian influence on our nation, right? I think 55 out of 56 founding fathers were
Exactly.
Christian,
You know my stuff.
I do. Yeah, I've looked
Good
at
for
your
you.
stuff. Yeah. But where I disagree is putting the 10 Commandments in classrooms, things like that.
Well, so let's pause on that, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm
Go
guessing
ahead.
you're not a Christian. That's okay.
I'm Hindu.
That's fine. So
That's fine.
even as a Hindu, what moral objection to the 10 Commandments could there would you agree if everybody followed the 10 Commandments, better place to live?
Yeah, so there's obviously commandments.
I would have just whittled it down and said, which one of the 10 commandments do you not want to follow? Which one of the 10 commandments do you not want to follow? To me, that's getting out of the nebulous and getting right down to the brass tacks. Which one? Cheating, lying, murdering, honoring your mother and father. Which one do you not want to follow? Or flip it on its head. Which one would society be better if we just didn't follow it at all? Which one? Tell me which one. And I think that would have been good. But let's see what he says. Shout out to him.
Commandments like thou shalt not kill. I mean, these are just moral standards.
Yeah,
that
but I
almost
think
everyone
in
follows.
Hindu philosophy, the only one that would be is, don't take any other gods before me, being
Right,
a
that's what I was
polytheistic
thinking.
faith,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Having no idols, that would violate Hinduism, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, honoring your father and mother, Hindus are pretty good with that, right?
We try.
Not coveting, right? Not stealing, not committing adultery. I imagine that's against Hindu religious teaching, right?
It is.
What I'm getting at is, despite the monotheism that is embedded in the 10 Commandments, you can agree that it does have good external moral teaching, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I'm getting at, is that I encourage anybody to show me a better book, a better teacher than the Bible to create good citizens.
The Constitution.
Well, does the
No.
Constitution morally teach us? The Constitution's a template, right?
I think, but is it the place of classrooms to tell children what their morals should be
Interesting
based off of a
question.
religious document?
Does
they do,
in a
though.
classroom, this is a really important question you asked.
Mhm.
If a kid is sitting in a desk, another kid, and he hits the other kid, should the teacher say that's wrong?
Yes.
The teacher's teaching morals.
Right.
If the kid goes and steals his lunch, is it for the teacher to say don't steal? If the kid goes around and starts harassing and bullying another kid, should the teacher say don't do that?
But what about those two commandments?
No, hold on.
No,
I'm going to get
answer
there.
that.
The teacher, of course, should come and say, stop it, don't do that, because the teacher is appealing to a moral order. We think that moral order should be in every classroom, the 10 Commandments, should be referring to that. This is why you shouldn't do that. This is why that. Now, as far as those two commandments, I have a brutal truth to tell you, that albeit I'll posit that not every founding father was Christian, they were all monotheistic. Polytheism does not mix very well with Western social order. I'm not criticizing Hindus.
It's all good.
But monotheism is a Western idea. One God, one morality. And here's why. When you have multiple gods, you get different moralities. And the West largely has embraced the idea that there is a standard of conduct, that there is a best way to live.
Right.
C.S. Lewis called it the Tao, or the way, or the best path in his book, Abolition of Man. What I'm getting at is that it's tempting to say, hey, the teacher should just say neutral. But we all know the number one thing a teacher does is not instruct. It's to control the behavior of out-of-control kids. And by controlling behavior, you're actually imparting morals on the kids. Does that make sense?
It does, but even then, the question still arises that, yes, there are moral codes that the Western civilization has kind of been built on, which is the 10 Commandments.
So we should go
for
back
all
to those
Abrahamic
roots,
religions.
right? We shouldn't.
However, we have school codes, school laws, district laws, and all of these. Most school codes have these,
but they're all
morals.
a
They have these
reflection
rules.
of a different moral code.
So why
So
put
go
the
back,
original?
So go
Why
back
not-
to the roots. The
but
roots are the
why?
best. Because why would we cut off the life force of our civilization? If we know that something has given us life and given us prosperity and has grown into the greatest civilization ever.
I'm going to stop for a second. School rules or school codes, they're going on a premise that thou shalt not lie. Like, for example, the honor code as it relates to taking tests and doing work in school. You're going on the premise that people are not going to lie or cheat or steal other people's work. They're there. It's embedded in it. I don't understand what the gentleman's big issue is. Because again, I would probably just ask, which one of the 10 commandments do you want to not keep? Which one? He'll probably say the singular God, the monotheistic God. Okay. Is there another one? Because you're already not doing that one, but you're also not cheating, stealing, and robbing and dishonoring your mother and father. So which one of them do you want to continue with? How about dishonoring your mother and father? Indians seem to have a very high view of their elders. So would you want to go around and do that? You want to go steal? You want to take somebody else's wife? Take somebody else's stuff? Somebody takes your grade, your work and puts their name on it? Do you want that? I think it's very easy. I don't understand why this is I don't even know why. I'm not 100% certain why he's even arguing this.
Isn't going back to the roots really finding our way home?
Well, and like to an extent, you're right. Absolutely. I understand your point, and I can totally understand. But, you know, when you have these 10 commandments and you have a child such as me, you know, a Hindu person, if I was a child and I see the 10 commandments on a wall, to me, it's an endorsement, not so much as, hey, here are some rules that you should follow. Because even with those two, I'm still feeling cognitive dissonance that like I'm being told this, but I also believe this at home. So why
Fair
not
enough.
stick with those school codes and those, you know, local laws?
I think
and,
we're actually agreeing
codes-
at some point.
I agree.
At some point, there has to be rules for life.
Absolutely.
Right. That's the problem. Because please keep in mind, Hindus and Indians have a different perspective about me as a highly melanated black man. They have a different perspective on us. So maybe maybe y'all do need to follow the 10 commandments, my dude. So I do think that's interesting.
We
Let's
think
finish.
the best rules for life were given to Moses on Sinai. We think that was the best way for human beings to live.
We slightly disagree.
We
but-
disagree. And
don't
I
care.
would contest, though, can you show me a civilization that is as prosperous as the West that embraces polytheism?
The
I'm
United
not-
States of America.
Well, we're not polytheistic.
We embrace it.
Well, no,
It's
we
the
don't.
First Amendment.
No,
It's
hold
freedom
on.
of religion.
No.
It's not
We don't embrace
polytheistic.
polytheism. Okay, we are a monotheistic civilization fundamentally. For example, in the Declaration, God is mentioned 4 times. It even says ordination in the Constitution. Now, you are right. You can be a polytheist, right?
Right.
At some point, though, the Western moral order does believe in the idea of a singular God. That has been a tradition, and it's worked really well for us. And if the solution is like, hey, we're going to have a school code, what we want to do is peel back that school code eventually back to where it came from.
But what's the point inherently? Again, I apologize if I keep
No, it's
repeating
okay.
This.
The point
What's the point
is
of
that
peeling this code
well,
back
it's
instead
not-
of keeping this code that's more inclusive to people like
I
me?
wouldn't say it's I don't mean to offend you. I don't
That's all
seek
good.
to be inclusive.
Reasonable.
I
Correct.
seek what is best.
Okay.
And the 10 commandments are what is best. Again, and so would it be offensive to a young Hindu kid? Maybe, maybe not. But it also is a reminder they're living in a country that is a monotheistic country. If I went to India and there was,
Facts.
you know, the Vishnu or whatever Vishnu,
Vishnu,
yeah,
yeah.
right, code, I wouldn't be offended because I'm a visitor in a polytheistic country. Does that make sense? So if I go to China and they have the Confucian code for kids to live by, I wouldn't be like, well, take that down because I'm a Christian. So it's sometimes when you're a visitor into a monotheistic culture, think you can still have your own beliefs, but understand monotheism is one of the most important, ethical monotheism is one of the most important worldview elements that created this amazing civilization.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you for your time. I
Yeah, of
appreciate
course.
it.
I don't think that they were disagreeing. I just think the young man wanted to push back, but I thought that was a good ending, though, for sure. I think he hit the nail on the head. But I don't think they really were disagreeing. Were they really at odds? Were they? I don't know if they really were at odds. Our country was founded on the principles of Christianity, not Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, or others. I agree. Yeah. I think, Charlie, that was a great ending. I think he did an excellent job. Now, all right, we're going to round these bases. I want to say thank y'all to everybody. We got about a little over 100 and some change that have stopped on by. 117 popping into the best live chat on the internet. Thank you so much for tapping in. Make yourself known. Go ahead and jump into the chat. Say what's up to you people. Say what's up. Okay. There's been this question going around about why Erica Kurt, Turning Point, is not suing people. Matt Walsh, I don't know if y'all saw this. Matt Walsh actually answered this. So I'm going to go and I'm going to tap in Neeson Black. Shout out to Neeson Black, excellent content creator. Y'all get over there and check that brother out. I'll make sure I leave those videos. The link will be down in the description. But he went over Matt Walsh's response or answer to why Erica Kirk, Turning Point, probably are not going to sue many people like we think they should. We probably here agree that we want them to sue a lot of people. Well, there's a little bit of a problem, and I kind of agree with them. So let's bring this in. Green hearts in the chat when you can hear. Let's go. Let's go.
Appreciating every single one of you all the time. Listen, Erica Kirk situation, it's all bad. It's just really all bad. And we're not talking specifically about her. TPUSA definitely has some things that needs to be working out right now. It has some things that needs to work on and it needs to fix. But the Erica Kirk, character assassination is just on another level. Now, I think maybe a week ago, this clip I'm going to show you actually, Matt Walsh actually addressed this as this, I think it was an AI generated recording of Erica Kirk going around that is completely horrendous. I mean, at this point where she can't technically sue, he's going to get into the whole entire thing over here, but where she can't technically sue for every single thing that somebody says. I mean, just come on, man. This stuff is ridiculous. It's out of bounds. And it just goes again to show the moral decay that has happened in this society where people will take things like this and try to, cause hurt and defamation, not only to anybody, it's already a problem, but to a widow whose husband was killed in front of the whole entire world. The whole entire world had to watch this assassination. She has to grieve in front of the whole entire world. That's the widow that you're going to choose. And this is where it comes to moral decay. Because if you see inside of the Bible itself, you have a major, major problem with the way that you treat widows and orphans. It's a major, major issue. But because a lot of these people are not biblically sound, no matter what they profess, no matter what they claim to say to you, they are very, very far from the truth. Let's hear what Matt Walsh had to say.
There was a post over the weekend that went viral that I want to talk about, amplified by guys like Ian Carroll and other quote unquote independent creators, as we call them now. And I'm not going to put the post up on the screen or read it because it's totally false. It's just, I will summarize it by saying that this post that was all over X and maybe other platforms as well, is just another volume in the ever-expanding library of anti-Erica Kirk defamation. And basically the post claimed that an audio recording, which they also posted the audio recording, depicts Erica helping to facilitate sex trafficking for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it's not true, obviously. It's totally made up. Plus, the recording is from over like 20 years ago when Erica herself would have been a minor. So this person was accusing Erica as a child of being involved in a facilitating capacity with sex trafficking. Totally insane. Not true at all, clearly. And yet the original poster claimed factually, objectively, that it's Erica. Wasn't even like, oh, might this be Erica? Does that sound? No, it was the exact phrasing. This is undeniably Erica Kirk. Not even bothering to throw in an allegedly or to couch the accusation in any way whatsoever. Just saying, yep, this is Erica. That post got 11 million views. And again, it was reposted and amplified by other large accounts, Ian Carroll in particular. And now he did do the smarmy, cowardly, passive-aggressive thing of allowing yourself plausible deniability, because he reposted it and said it was with something like, wow, this sounds an awful lot like her. And then later he could backtrack, which he did, and said, well, I never said it was her. What are you talking about? I wasn't trying to. I didn't imply anything. I never implied anything. All I was saying is that we should look into this. And again, it's not remotely true at all, verified to be false. Something your common sense should have already told you. And this is, as I said, just one more example of just blatant, fraudulent, slanderous nonsense being leveled at Erica. And there's a lot of it all over the place. Yesterday, there's a nutcase who calls herself a journalist named Liz Crokin, kept the narrative going. She posted, quote, Erica Kirk is involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children. Just not even, again, no allegedly, just not the vaguest attempt to even pretend that she's exercising any kind of prudence or discretion at all. Just outright defamation, totally made up. There's no evidence of this at all. Zero evidence of Erica Kirk being involved in rape, torture, and trafficking of children. There's not even like, you know, if proving that is a mile away, like if the proof of Erica being involved in that is a mile away, Liz Crokin has not even made it an inch in that direction. Okay, not a foot in that direction. There's no evidence at all. Totally made up. And stated as fact. And this is what's happening. The worst, most insidious, most damaging lies that it's possible to tell about a person. And that post has 1 million views. And here's what I want to say about this, and this is what I posted over the weekend. I want to say it here too, because it's important. And there's a reason I bring it up. Aside from just lamenting the constant assault on this woman who is at this point the most defamed person to ever live. I mean, it's insane. I've never seen anything like it. But here's my point. And I don't really have a solution for this. I got to be honest. I have some ideas maybe, but I don't have a solution. I don't know what to do about this exactly, but it's really bad because this is how defamation works these days. And it's all over them. It is totally out of control. And it's only going to get worse. You bring in AI and all that kind of thing. I've been warning about that. Other people have warned about it. But as AI videos and AI audio and that sort of thing gets even more sophisticated, this is only going to get worse. And what you need to understand, if you don't, I think a lot of people I think a lot of people don't get this, maybe because they're just not as clued into this particular problem. And if you've never fallen victim to it, then I would see why you wouldn't be. But the victims of this kind of thing are almost powerless to do anything about it. There's almost nothing you can do about it. That's the reality that I think most people don't quite understand. I keep hearing about Erica. People say, well, if none of this stuff is true, why won't she sue? Well, I'll tell you why. And this is a case, again, here's a case study, microcosm. Can Erica sue over any of this stuff? Sure, she could sue. I mean, I hope she does, just as an outside observer. You can sue anyone. Right? Anyone can sue anyone. That is for sure. So if the question is, can so-and-so sue this other person? The answer is always yes, they can. You can sue anyone for anything. But to win a lawsuit, well, that's a different matter. Because in order to win, she would have to prove that this person, first of all, posted this nonsense knowing that it wasn't true. That's proving malice. She would have to prove, that's the standard for someone, especially someone who's a quote unquote public figure. Right? And what's a public figure? Well, I guess like if a lot of people know who you are, then you're a public figure, basically. Mm-hmm. If you're not a public figure, the standard is a little bit lower. But if you could be considered a public figure by the courts, you have no hope of getting anywhere unless you can prove not only that the claim is false, but also, and in this case, the proving it's false thing would be easy to do because the claims are so ridiculous. But oftentimes, depending on what the defamation is, even that part is like proving a negative. I mean, there are many times when someone can make a claim that, oh, you said this or you did this. Now I got to prove that didn't happen. I mean, infamously, proving a negative is very, very hard to do, even if it's clearly not true. That's why in a court of law, in a criminal court, if someone is accused of a crime, they don't have to prove they didn't do it because we all understand that proving you didn't do something, like if you're saying, "Oh, you killed," if you're coming to me and accusing me of killing someone, I don't have to prove to you I didn't. Because in many cases, I might prove that I didn't do or say this on this specific time at this. I mean, unless there's video of me at that moment, I might not be able to prove that.
And this is why it's so important for a lot of us. And I found this to be very educational. The reason why I found this to be very educational is because we all of us, have been saying she's going to sue them. Eventually it's going to happen. Why doesn't she sue them? Then it turned in, what's going on? Why is Erica not suing them? And it turns out that it's very hard to actually prove all of this in court, all of these different aspects and different components of what is involved in a court case, a defamation case. And it's not so simple. So the horrible part about this is that it's very hard to prove. And the likelihood of Erica Kirk even winning a case, let alone against Candace or anybody else or Ian Carroll, whoever it is, whoever she would decide to put this lawsuit towards, right? There's a few different things. They may look at her afterwards, even worse sometimes, by you serving someone papers. You end up still being the villain in the first place. Right. That's just what it is, especially with this, especially when you have an audience of people who, conspiracize everything. Everything becomes a conspiracy. Everything. You will always be the villain no matter what. Right? Whether you win or you lose, the fact that you serve the papers, you already have an issue. The second thing is that it's very hard to prove, like he said, that she knew, that they knew, in current, all these other people, that they would have known what it actually was. It takes a lot in order for you to be able to prove that. So it's not so easy as much as, many of us will want to see some type of lawsuit here. It's just not that easy for it to be done. And so I found this very educational. And it also, here's the good part about it, though. The good part is that God gets to win. Right. So at that point, when there's nobody else that can save you, there's nobody else that can, come to your aid. There's no actual physical or material method by which you can be victorious. Then you have to rely on God. And that sometimes is, as they would have wished they would have been able to have been absolved by a court case.
But no, the onus is on you. If you're accusing me, well, no, you have to prove that it happened. And if you can't prove that it happened, then the assumption is that it didn't. But over here, when it comes to defamation, it's flipped on its head.
Right.
Where you have to prove that the thing is not true. Okay, well, let's say you get over that hurdle, and in many cases you can, but not always. Well, now you have to prove that the person who said you did it knew when they said it that it wasn't true. And that's almost impossible to prove in most cases. I mean, it's almost impossible. Like, how can I prove? So now I got to prove not only that I didn't do something, but I have to prove what was in your head when you said it. How am I supposed to do that? I can't do that. That's almost impossible most of the time. And that alone right there is reason enough why 99% of the time when someone's being defamed, especially as a quote unquote public figure, it's like you don't even, I can't clear that hurdle. I can't prove malice. I can't prove, like, I know what you're doing and you know what you're doing. Common sense shows what you're doing, but I can't prove what's in your own head. I can't prove what's in your heart.
Okay, so I'm going to just pause for a second before I think Neeson Black is about to do an ad read or whatnot. I think it's looks like an ad read, but let me just say this. This is one of the reasons why when we had Nick come on, this is why Nick is very, very pensive about saying somebody has a case, because there are things and elements that are hard to, again, it might almost not be worth it to fight it. Now, I do believe that Project Constipation did, in fact, do the wrong thing. And I still think that she should sue them and sue Candace. I do believe that. However, if she doesn't, I do understand why she wouldn't, is all I'm trying to say. And I believe that's the takeaway I got from this, is that if she didn't sue them, I totally understand why she would not do it, because there's other things at play. And again, like that, this is mental energy that's being taken away from doing what TPUSA needs to be doing, which I think getting rid of the culling the herd, getting rid of the disease and the rot within TPUSA, building a good team, and making Charlie's legacy viable. I think that's more important than protecting your name, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that was my takeaway from that. So let's finish up with Neeson.
I want you all to see this verse. This is very, very important. This is Exodus 22, verses 21 through 23. I want you to understand God in the way that he is. Now, there's many other verses, but I want to use this one specifically so you can understand the ramifications of what is of what these people are up against as they continuously go after Erica Kirk. It says, "You shall not afflict any widow or orphan. If you afflict them in any way, and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry. My anger will burn, and I will kill you by the sword." God's not being politically correct here. And your wives will become widows, and your children orphans. I want you guys to understand this. It's very, very important for you to understand this about the God of Israel. God does not have to sugarcoat anything. God is a just God. God is a God who, when he says something, he means it. He says his word shall not return to him void. And I understand that in this world of online theater, in the court of public opinions, and whatever else you want to call this show, and perhaps the circus that we are all, involved in, this circus that we're watching from these people, ultimately, God will bring these people to justice. God willing, they repent. Wow. That's what we all pray, right? The book of Ezekiel says that God doesn't desire that these people should die, but rather that they should repent. However, the notion or the idea that the just God and supreme God is going to allow these people to continue on this way, not a chance. It's not a chance. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't, turn on the notification. Hit the notification bell so you can see every time something else new drops. And as we always say here on this channel, remember to serve God or live trying. I'll see you on the next clip.
All right, grace and peace. Shout out to Neeson Black. I appreciate that. Yeah. I still want Erica Kirk and Turning Point to sue Candace, but I do understand why they may not be moving as fast as I think they should, or why they're not doing what we all believe that they should do. And it might be because, look, it's going to be a hard road to hoe. And is that mental energy and is that monies that we really want to invest in this right now? I think that's what they're saying, but I'm not 100%. Okay, I'm not 100%, but that's what I think is going on. But let me know what y'all think about it for sure. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna pull in Fax Me. I've not looked at Fax Me, and actually, Natalie, I apologize, Natalie Beisner is referring to Fax Me. Whew. We got a lot of back and forth up in here. All right, let's pull this in real quick. All right, shout out.
You guys have been kind of following, obviously, the whole back forth last week with the whole saga with Nicole Arbor, very vocal and very passionately against women that false accuse men. First and foremost, because it smears them. And it's not a smear that just lasts a couple of days. It lasts their entire lifetimes. And there's not a guy that can come up and just say, oh, well, the charges were dropped, and people don't go, oh, but why were the charges ever there in the first place? The idea is to make men carry that for the rest of their lives. And women know that when they lie. And by the way, when a woman false accuses a guy, it doesn't just do a disservice to that man. It does a disservice to women everywhere.
Another old interesting clip from Candace Owens. And you know what? I actually agree with her so much in this clip. I couldn't agree more that false accusations against men ruin their lives. It's not just a little thing that ruins it for the short term. A guy just can't come up and say, well, the charges were dropped, so it's no big deal. People then hold that against you forever. It's a mark on your reputation. It's a stain on your character. And people think, oh, well, why were you ever accused of it in the first place? I could not agree more. But I'm just wondering how you circle that square as a Candace fan, and how she circles that square herself with what she's doing now, which is accusing baselessly, without evidence and without proof, accusing women, including Erica Kirk, and also men, of the worst sexual crimes, crimes against children, and then also of murder. Either, you know, being involved in the planning of murder, allowing it to happen. She has specifically said that Charlie's murder was planned and that it was a decision that was made by his friends.
I just want to know why, Charlie. I want to know why the decision was made to murder Charlie Kirk, a decision that very clearly had to be approved by Charlie's friends.
So how is that any different? It's not different. Obviously, false accusations of sexual assault can ruin your life. False accusations of being a predator of children can ruin your life. False accusations of murder can ruin your life. And in retrospect, it's just so clear to me that Candace Owens, when she stood against the Me Too movement, and it's so disappointing to say because she was, in my view, one of the first people to stand up against the injustices of the Me Too movement and to see it for what it was. But it's clear to me now that when she stood against it, it was really just about being contrarian and gaining attention for going against what was accepted in society at the time, and specifically gaining attention and praise from male fans. That's what it was about. It was never about truly seeking justice for people, truly wanting to protect people from witch hunts and undue character and reputation smears. It was never about that, because if it were about that, you would want to apply it equally. It wouldn't just be about women falsely accusing men of sexual assault. It would be about any false accusations against anyone, anywhere. And the truth of the matter is that some content creators have realized that there is a market for content creators who defend the opposite sex. And some content creators decide to capitalize on that. To me, Pearl Davis is one of these people. Like, it's one thing for a woman to defend women. It's one thing for a man to defend men. But when a man specifically defends women and makes content about that, it's an attractor. Women like it. Likewise, when a woman specifically defends men and consistently makes content about that, it's an attractor. Men like that. It pulls people in. And I'm not saying that everyone who does that is not genuine, but I am saying that some people have capitalized on that and are using that just to further their own brand. And it seems to me like Candace realized that that was a popular thing at the time that would make her stand out from the crowd, that would attract specifically more male followers. And it wasn't actually, again, about any abiding principles and morals. It wasn't actually, again, about staving off witch hunts, demanding proof beyond a reasonable doubt, demanding that accusations not just be baseless. And Candace has even gone so far as to say in the past that in a perfect world, women who falsely accuse men of sexual assault would be punished in the same way that we punish actual sexual assailants. And so by her own logic, if she's going around falsely accusing people of murder and also crimes against children, what kind of punishment would she and the other people doing that deserve by her own logic?
I think that's a great question. I would also just add that in that video, Candace ends by saying she'll always stand on the side of men, not on the side of truth, but on the side of men. Not saying that all men are wrong, not saying that all men are right, not saying the same thing either that about women. Why are you not standing on the side of truth and not just a gender specific? So I think that helps Natalie's case as well. It bolsters it that, yeah, she was literally saying like, hey, I just stand with all men. Like, it's almost the opposite of the Me Too movement. You know, trust all women. Now it's trust all men. Candace will trust all men. Or back then she did, allegedly. I don't know if she really truly believed it, but y'all get my point. Shout out to y'all. Thank you so much to everybody who tapped in. Thank you to all of y'all. We had a great show. I really do appreciate y'all tapping in for sure. It has been a long day. It's been a long day, but I have no complaints. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. I think we are good to go. Juju said we're good. I think we caught up. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much to, again, Adam, for being the stream sponsor. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so very much. Thank you to everybody who tapped in. Thank you to everybody who has been playing my Final Four. My March Madness. We're not on Final Four yet. So we're on day 2 of my March Madness. We got, let me pull it in real quick. And so what you'll see if you go over to my comments, my community post, we got my number 2 seed and my number 7 seed videos for the month of March. We got the Tim Pool video talking about Candace versus the Carmelo Anthony video. And at the current moment, all I ask you to do is click here, watch the playlist, watch the 2 videos, and just come and tell me which one you think should move on to the next. It looks like Tim Pool is definitely holding it down, but let me know what y'all think about it. Tomorrow, I'll drop number 3 and number 6, and that will be on, of course, at 2:00 p.m. And then on Saturday, same thing, number 4, number 5 seed. And then Sunday, we'll do our Final Four. Monday, we'll do a championship round. I don't know. Maybe we'll drop a new T-shirt. Maybe we'll drop the new April T-shirt in celebration of whoever wins the Final Four. I should have did a bracket. That would have been hilarious. But, as a school teacher, we never really did Final Four. So I never fully, and of course, my alma mater, we were never involved in that. So I never really got into college sports like that. So, but I understood the Final Four and the Sweet 16 and all of that stuff was Elite 8. I understood it. It's just I never really participated in it. So if ever they were doing brackets or stuff like that, I would never do it. So I said, this year I'm going to do a bracket. I'm going to do a bracket for the best videos on my channel. So I thought it would be fun. Let me know what y'all think about it. What you say? My associate pastor has always had my back when I speak the truth. My husband doesn't like it, but my guy, Kevin, is on our side because I'm on Jesus' side. Shout out, Chrissy. I agree 100%. There we go. Shout out to you, associate pastor. There we go. Adam says, always glad to sponsor the stream when God blesses me with a little, sorry about that. When God blesses me with a little more than I need. Shout out, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for dropping my March Madness. Oh, yeah, that's right. So March Madness day 1, y'all can still vote on. I'm not going to take it down. But day 1, what was it? It was right here. Number 1 seed versus number 8. I had to take a long time to figure that out. So I got my my video on all right, my weird conspiracy about Candace and her 4 kids in 5 years. That's with the Atkins from Culture Proof, and then Candace's former employee exposing her. At the current moment, it looks like that video is ruling the roost. Let me see. It looks like it is ruling the roost for sure. But anything can happen. Anything can happen. So let me know what y'all think about it, y'all. This is just fun. It was just meant to be fun to look at some of the the videos that came up from this month. If you missed them, all that kind of good jazz. So shout out to y'all. Thank you so much for tapping in. Yeah, we're gonna get ready to bug out of here. Everybody have a fantastic night. Thank you so much, moderators. I really do appreciate you all. Thank you so much for all that y'all do to keep this thing moving in the right direction. If you could do me a favor, please tip your waiters on the way out the door, everybody. Please make sure you tell the moderators thank you so much. I really do appreciate y'all. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace. See you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.